First pick.
Welcome back, college baseball fans. We're back here for another episode of the College Baseball Show, Top 25 Show. All the fun that is here, going through our Top 25 and talk about all the things that happened over the weekend. I'm your host, Mark Garland, joined by our co-host here today, Jason Ratcliffe from 6'4 Analytics. How we doing, buddy?
Doing good. We're really starting to get into the thick of things, starting to feel like, I don't know. You want to say that you've got a good feel for teams, and I think it is getting better, but I do feel as though we're starting to get a feel for what teams' postseason probabilities are looking like. I think last week before, you could kind of think about like the 5 to 6 different hypotheticals that a team could go down in terms of like their paths. Now I feel like we're almost getting like to this divergence of like, okay, you've got just 2 to 3 paths left. Kind of what is your season going to look like? So always fun to think about the hypotheticals and ready to jump into this.
Yeah, it feels like we're getting to the point where you start to see some teams break away from the pack. They're like, okay, these teams are those top 25 teams, and these teams are maybe bubble / finding their way out of this thing. So it's really getting interesting as we go deeper into this thing. I'm excited for it. First thing, let's talk about a team that's on the bubble out. LSU, man, now 6-15 in conference. Like, they're in trouble, Jason.
Yeah, I think you like to see the fight that you saw from LSU, and I don't want to call it bad luck because if you flip tails in a row enough times, it's like, okay, do you have a two-sided coin or is this just bad luck? But it felt like they had a chance to win it multiple times. They just really could never get that big bullpen stop that they were looking for. You credit to Miss State. They took advantage of some situations. They had some really timely hits, like Noweski with the walk off. Reese had some big home runs, the double in Game 3, just a lot of timely hits. But overall, LSU, you thought potentially maybe able to carry something back. Like hopefully, what was kind of like going to be their fallback was their pitching, and kind of the pitching just let them down. I don't think I'm ready to, write the eulogy just yet for them. I think it's getting there, but the RPI is a big killer. They're 2-8 in their last 10, negative 28 run differential in the last 10. Like things are going the wrong direction, but they still have, some winnable games left, and they still have some marquee weekend games left. So they're at 6 wins. Like they're really gonna. You'd think they're gonna have to go 7-2. I don't see any way with their non-con that they get in with 12. So 7 is pretty much like what they're gonna have to shoot for. It's gonna be difficult, but we'll see.
Yeah, it brings me to my next point. Does every team that gets 13 wins get into this thing, Jason? Like that's the problem. Like RPI doesn't help them, and there's a lot of things in front of them now. Could they go 7-2 down the stretch? Possibly. It's slim right now the way that they're playing. They have the talent. They have plenty of talent to do it. Like they're a team that could definitely turn it on and all of a sudden do it. Which also they could go out and win the SEC tournament. Like I know that's wild to think about, but it's a possibility. If they get hot at the right time, go win 5 games. That's something that they could do. That's how good this team actually has talent wise. Like they could go do that, Jason.
Yeah, two thoughts on that. One, to your point, it's not really a well-kept secret. A lot of coaches hate the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
You've had like Tennessee who won it, Arkansas who won it, kind of like went into it and like, okay, like do we really want to win this? Do we want to use the pitching? Like, do we want to go 2 and barbecue? Like, they've tried to adjust the schedule a little bit to make it to where, those after you get past that first game, it's still just like a single elimination. I think the coaches I don't think any of them are too keen on throwing a lot of their arms. They kind of just want to, keep guys up on their schedules, make sure they're not too rusty, and then go into their regionals. So you could see, you look at a team like Texas A&M last year where they kind of were trying to put it together at the very last second to make their run to make it. Now they ran in, I think it was LSU when they lost their final game. But you can make those runs, and it's definitely a possibility. But you have to have a lot of things come together at the right time because of where they're going to be at in terms of their seeding. They're going to need a lot of pitching, And you just look at this last series, and that pitching just wasn't there, especially from the bullpen. And the second thing you said is like, do you think teams that get 13 are in? I think for three reasons, the answer to that's no on some. One is SEC RPI. So the SEC RPI, and we'll get to, we were talking about Vanderbilt, is like right now, Arkansas is, or I think I'm trying to remember who plays Arkansas. Maybe it's Kentucky. So like Kentucky plays Arkansas and Tennessee. Those are both Q2 games for them. Which when we talk about them, it's like how games that you would think that would be Q1 aren't Q1 because of just kind of the oddity that the RPI is right now, specifically in the SEC. Secondarily, because you have this gap that's left by what you would generally consider like teams that would push for that RPI, you've got, Conference USA, you've got the Big Ten is pretty much like secured for spots now. So
Yeah.
you look at Sun Belt, which is going to have at least two. So, I mean, the Sun Belt's been so wonky. I mean, you've got App State now that's like third in the conference. It's you really don't know what's going to happen, but you have to fill that void. And so when you've got like Southern Miss and you've got, Coastal, and you've got the three Conference USA teams, and you've got enough teams that are going to kind of clutter, we'll say that 16 to 40, that at large region, because, below 60, they're obviously going to get in. I think you're going to have it hard for teams like Vanderbilt, teams like LSU, that they're like right now trying to circle 13 and do the math. I think it's going to be a little harder.
Yeah, like let's talk about Kentucky, right? They're 9-12 now. They've got a tough schedule coming up here. I mean, their schedule is Tennessee, and then they've got at Florida and versus Arkansas. Like, and you're telling me they got to win 4 games to get to 13, and 13 may not be enough for those guys. But Tennessee's playing better baseball. They're trying to get in this thing. Florida's really good. We just saw what they just did to A&M, and Arkansas is playing for their tournament lives also. Like, they're trying to still be in the host conversation. This is not an easy set for Kentucky to try to get 4 more wins out of there. 4 and 5 is not really like a visionable goal there for them.
Yeah. You look at Kentucky, and right now, like, I do think Kentucky is still in. They're basically like top 40 or so on all the metrics, as you said. Like, but the 3-7 record and only 3 remaining, the 3-7 record over their last 10, and the 3 remaining Q1s is a concern, because like they're in those like 40 range, but from a like ceiling perspective, their ceiling now is almost like 25. And so like it's hard to say, okay, well, clearly like an elite 2 seed is out of the picture now. And so it's like, all right, are we going to be a medium high seed 2? Are we going to be a 3? Like, what are we going to be? And to your point, like it's going to be hard when you're looking at Arkansas, who I don't know who they are. I mean, if you watch the Missouri series, I mean, Missouri led for probably 2/3 of the innings. The Friday night, Missouri had the lead, I think, till the seventh or 8th. Or it was Thursday. They started on Thursday. Think they led till the 8th inning, Arkansas's inning, I guess. And then Friday, or I guess Saturday it was, apologies. It was weird. Thursday and Saturday, Missouri, I think, had 8 runs in those 2 games in the first like 20 pitches. Like that those first 2 innings for Arkansas, one versus Dietz, and Dietz went on to have a great rest of the game.
And then
versus Fisher, like you just don't really know what you're getting from Arkansas, especially when, I mean, they got blanked by Missouri starting pitching for the vast majority of that series. So I have no idea what you'll get from Arkansas. I could see Kentucky sweeping. I could see Arkansas sweeping. Both of those teams feel like Jekyll and Hyde. Tennessee, on the other hand, I think Tennessee's a much better team than maybe what their like RPI record is showing. So that's going to be difficult. So, I mean, you felt like this was kind of their opportunity for South Carolina, and it basically took them to get buzz cuts for them to just get a win. So Jelkin gave up 7, Madison gave up 5, Boone only went 2 1/3. He didn't give up any runs, but 2 went against him. So I mean, it's just hard to win any SEC weekend when your starters give up 12, or I mean, in 15 go across the plate in 11 innings, 11 1/3 innings. So I really like the Kentucky coaching staff, but I do think they're in a little bit of a difficult situation.
Yeah, I almost feel like they have to get to 14 wins. Even though they're 39th in the RPI, I feel like they got to get to 14 like that. It feels like they have to have a winning record down the stretch here in
I would
postseason
say
play.
if we had a hierarchy of who needs 14, I would say I think Kentucky's last. I
Yep.
would absolutely say LSU and Vandy need 14 more than they need
Vanderbilt's sitting at
14.
69 right now in the RPI.
Yeah,
Like
exactly,
that's
exactly.
that they it almost feels like they have to get there with what their schedule is left too. I mean, that's a tough one
Yeah.
here for Vanderbilt. I mean, it's not easy. They have at Alabama, at Mizzou, and at South Carolina. One, Mizzou and South Carolina are not bumping that RPI for Vanderbilt. Like that's not going to boost that RPI at all. And at Alabama, like Alabama needs wins, so that's not going to be an
Yeah.
easy series. So could they go win 6 against South Carolina and Mizzou? Maybe, but South Carolina's playing better baseball. So they're on the like. Can they go 6-3 and get in? Is that a 13-win team that can sneak in? Like, I don't think so. Are they one that has to go 7-2 down the stretch also? But like we're talking about all these teams, they're right there.
Like, don't get me wrong, 6-3 for South Carolina is possible, but I think you are almost going to have a very, I would think, hungry LSU team at the box. So I mean, LSU is basically, as we just said, they have to go 7-2 just to throw their name in the hat of like, don't forget about us.
Yeah.
And when you have at Vandy versus Alabama, or I'm sorry, when you have South Carolina and you have who else do they have besides South Carolina? Why am I forgetting the rest of their?
Pull it up.
Let me, yeah. But ultimately, if you're counting those 7, you have to count 3 for South Carolina.
You have to get
That's
3.
just that's how we have to. So I think you're going to have the immovable force first, kind of that
At Georgia, then at
unstoppable.
home versus Florida.
Yeah. So
Are their final 6.
Georgia's playing like a freak right now, and we'll get to
Yeah.
them. And so they're going to be lucky to get 2 there.
And you got to go into
So
Athens and and you got to steal 2 in
yeah,
Athens. Like,
yeah. I mean, really, the only thing I think you could get with Georgia is the pitching is good right now, but it's also just a question mark.
yep.
Vigil, like Aoki looked really good. Are they going to? I think they should.
I think they start with them on
But I
Sundays.
think that's pretty much the only question you would have. Georgia has not many question marks right now. So if you're searching for something, that's maybe where you could say, oh, this is a possibility. But the way LSU's pitching staff is pitching right now, going to Georgia where it's 360 to right center field against the power that they have to the right side, it's going to be hard for them to keep it under like a 6 ERA as a pitching staff. So that's going to be a really hard series for them. So you have to take 1 there, and then you're basically saying, shit, that means we need to sweep the remaining 2. So and Florida, we'll get to them, not to bounce around too much, but that's why it's just going to be really hard for LSU. So I haven't written the obituary yet, but I would say it's starting to be in a little bit of draft form.
They definitely have one of the tougher bubble schedules, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Oklahoma also, but I think Oklahoma's played their way in with the win this weekend. Like, I think that put them in. They needed that. If they had got swept, then they're one of those bubble teams that would have had a really tough schedule too here and out there in the season. But I think that win kind of put them more that all they have to do is win 3 games here. They're fine. They'll still feel themselves. But LSU's in trouble. I mean, I get it. But I mean, Vanderbilt, yeah, they play 2 better, easier teams than that. But they still have to win those games, and they still have to beat in Alabama. So I don't know. There's a lot on the board here this week. I think there's going to see a lot of movement in the SEC, and I'm kind of excited for it. Let's talk about ACC, Jason. Let's talk about the ACC. Florida State gets swept at Stanford. Like, not a good time for Florida State to get swept when they already seem like they're struggling. The offense has really just hit a lull, and they seem to not be able to find themselves. And then we saw the bullpen issues rear its ugly head all of a sudden. Rentaro Sasaki, really huge grand slam there to finish off that last one, but it was a lot of different guys on the offensive side. Sasaki was great all weekend, though, and showed why he had this huge hype last year as a freshman. Tremendous this weekend there for Stanford. He put Stanford back in it. Like, Stanford's right back in that cusp now. If you're talking about teams, a 10-11 now in conference, they're battling for this thing, man.
Yeah, it's hard for me because this series almost feels like the Vandy Tennessee series, where every single game was a one-run. Even the last one, it was just a walk-off granny by Sasaki.
Yeah,
It's hard for me to say like Florida State, this is who you are, or what a. I mean, it's a phenomenal series, clearly for Stanford.
yeah,
It's one of the more impressive weekends of any team in the country. So I don't think you try to discredit it, but I also think, in the grand scheme of things, it was just a coin flip for the vast majority of the games, and a lot of times it was like, okay, like now Florida State is going to take control, and we talked about this when Bailey went down. It was like,
yeah,
okay, what does this mean for Florida State? And I think the thing that ultimately means is that that slug, those extra base hits, kind of those crooked numbers are going to be harder to come by because you had a guy that in essence could be a quarter of your offensive production almost every single game. And it's just really hard to lose that kind of production and plug and play. So the pitching is still really good. I mean, the games were all low scoring, so it's not like the pitching, but it just was the hitting. So I wouldn't say I'm 5 alarm bell or whatever you want to call it for Florida State, but I would say like someone asked me today, it's like, oh, if they win the last 3 series, are they going to be hosting? I was like, oh, of course.
of
I
course.
mean,
Yeah,
if they
I
win
mean,
if they win the last, they'll be at 18 ACC, and any team with the non-con that they have with 18, like they'll be fine.
yeah,
So I don't know if you. I mean, they played in Arlington. They looked pretty good in Arlington. I mean, yeah, that was the Auburn one where Auburn looked fantastic, but again, like Florida State has a good resume. So
yeah,
with their pitching, I'm not incredibly worried, but with their hitting, again, it's the ceiling. It's the ceiling. I mean, really, I didn't think their floor would be crazy. Maybe I it's hard for me because you just see it. You can
yeah,
see it in the box score. You can see it in the games. Like teams are going right at Florida State right now, which over the past 3 years, with the power that they've had, that it's just kind of really hasn't been what it's so. Your ISO's down, your runs are down, pretty much production across the board. So I think if you're looking at anything for Florida State, you're just trying to think of ceiling right now, and I think it has been diminished.
yeah. And I mean, we know that the pitching staff can be good. It looks like it's getting, a little tired. Maybe the bullpen's getting a little tired, but I think that they're going to be fine on the arm side. But the offense
Mm.
really hasn't been there, and it really hasn't been there for the last 3 weeks. And you've seen it ever since Bailey went down. They really just don't get their slugging percentages way down. Their home run numbers are way down. They're not getting the 2-out hits that they need to get. Like, I know it's one guy, but that one guy made a big difference for this offense to kind of keep rolling with everybody else around him. Like the other guys were getting fastballs to hit. Now they're not. Now they're not getting those
Yeah,
favorable counts. And it makes a
yeah,
big difference for this Florida State team. Now they're still sitting at 12-9 in conference. Right now, they're probably a host team, fringe host
oh for
team
sure.
outside. And you still got to consider them that, even though they're tied for fourth place with Miami in the ACC right now. But, I think that they're right there. And the whole ACC had a really weird weekend. It was really weird. Virginia
Yeah,
gets swept. Like, that's a weird weekend for Virginia to go down and get swept. And let's talk about Pitt, the team that did sweep
yeah.
there, because we don't have them in our top 25, but they're creeping edge for closer. We've seen them put up runs. We've seen them do it to Georgia Tech. They're 28-14 now overall. They're 10-11 in conference. Jason, they've kind of put themselves in this conversation. The offense is legit for Pitt.
Oh, I mean, they're plus 26 in run differential, and they have one of the best hitting teams in the country. And clearly that makes sense, with the power numbers that they've been providing. I think, you look at their resume kind of up and down, they're right on the cusp, but they're in that like 40 to 35 region. And that's right there, which you would like call generally the bubble. I mean, they've got at Florida State, they've got at North Carolina, they've got Notre Dame, so they've got some games coming up where I think I mean, really, you've got what perceived to be at the beginning, it still is. I mean, North Carolina is a top 5 team in the country, but I think the at Florida State could look a little bit stronger on a paper than it may be in the current state because of what we just talked about with Florida State. So I think that's the game this weekend, right? Isn't it Pitt at Florida State, if I remember
Yep.
correctly?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, this is going to be. I mean, we just talked. I said it at the very beginning of the show. It's like we're starting to remove a lot of the different permutations. It's now kind of like, are you going to go left or are you going to go right? I think that's where you're at with Florida State. Now, if Florida State left and right both are the tournament, but left and right is like, are you going to be a top 8 national seed, or are you going to be in that 12 to 20 region where you're hosting or just on the cusp, or are you going to be a 2 seed? With Pitt, I think it's, are you going to be comfortably in, or are you going to be kind of biting your teeth at the end, hoping that you'll be one of those teams that gets in. So their overall strength of schedule is their non-con is terrible. 293. They have 16 Q4 games, but I mean, again, they're right now they're sitting 45 in RPI, and they've got 6 of the hardest games on paper remaining in the ACC. So if they somehow can at least just go 3-3 in that, I don't see any way that they're not like in the low 30s in the RPI, and I would say fairly comfortably in, especially given all of what we just talked about with the SEC of 4 or 5 teams saying, can we get to 13? Can we get to 13? Like, I don't see how you let a Pitt team, if they go 3-3 and they're now 13-14 in conference, and if they even get one out of Notre Dame, which I would be surprised if they didn't get it 1 or 2. I mean, you're talking about a 15-win Pitt team that's going to be in the 30s, and that's a 3, if not a 2 seed. So I feel good about this Pitt team. I would say, if crystal ball it, I would say like they're probably going to be in, but it just really depends on what Florida State team you get. I will say if Florida State can have like a resurgence from a hitting perspective, it's going to be versus this Pitt team, because they are they're prone to giving up the long ball. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's that's what happens. I mean, they do give up the long ball, but they hit it. So
yeah,
I'm with you. I think if they get 2 wins, even, because those are 6 Q1 games, that might be enough as long as they swept Notre Dame at the end of the season. I think if 5 more wins is kind of their number to get to 15-15 in conference, that kind of puts them there with what the schedule is ahead of them.
I think if they're 15, they're in easy.
Yeah,
because
15 puts them
with
in.
the way RPI works, if they get it's a 30% increase for road wins. That's why I was talking with somebody about this today. It's like I'm surprised teams don't kind of game the RPI a little bit more, because frankly, with the way the formula is, it's not as though it's easy, but you just play a lot of road games, play a lot of neutral games, don't play as many home games, and you can do that in the non-con, and you can really make your non-conference schedule look a lot better than it actually is. But if they play at Florida State or at North Carolina, even get 1 or 2 wins there at that 30% bump with versus top 15 RPI teams, their RPI is going to skyrocket.
Yeah, a 2-4 in that boosts you actually higher than if you were to sweep at home against a bad team. Like, that's exactly what it does. It boosts you right.
That's why the infamous RPI game where Michigan, dropped one of their games and then picked up Miami, Ohio. Like all the coaches are looking at it right now, because again, I was punching the numbers for RPI, but someone was asking, associated with Georgia's odds of being a top 8 national seed. And it looks as though the committee basically just uses it religiously. If you're not a top 8 RPI over the last 5 years, you only have about a 22% chance of if you're in that top 20. So 78% of all top 8 national seeds in the last 5 years have been in the top 8 of the RPI. So it's one of the things where coaches see that, they see trends, they know what they're looking at. And so they're trying to make their RPI better. So long story short, I think Pitt is in a really good position to solidify their case. They just need to win some games.
Yeah, I think it's just taking care of business for them. Honestly, just going out there and winning baseball games is all that they have to do. Win some of the games in front of them. And I think if they get to 15, they're in no matter what. So I think that'd be a big one for them. Boston College. Okay, this team is ever so closer to being a host team, Jason. I know that they dropped one over the weekend and it was ugly, but they did win the weekend still. And now they have 16 wins in conference. They're sitting at 16-8. And they've got at Clemson, and then they have an off week, and then they're against Georgia Tech. Like, they have a chance too, because that Georgia Tech one's going to boost them up. Even the at Clemson is technically a Q1 game, or I think it's just outside Q1, because Clemson has jumped into the top 50 now in RPI. This is kind of a big series for them. If they can go down and sweep or take 2 of 3 from Clemson, this is a host team. 18 wins should be a host team in the ACC.
Oh, this is where I always get in this like kind of mental battle with I see what the numbers say and I also see what my eyes say. Like your eyes say exactly what you just said. Like this is a 16-8 team in the ACC who has beat up on some really good teams who's 8-2 in the last 10 plus 33 in run differential. But then you look at, they're 25th in DSR, and they're 25th in
25th in
RPI.
RPI.
Yeah, so it's kind of the thing where it's like from a numbers standpoint, they're not like a host right now. But I agree with you. Like I just don't see how a team that, if they go at Clemson, which that's still technically a Q1 game because Clemson's like that borderline 50. If they
Yeah.
can get 2 from Clemson, now Georgia Tech's going to be really difficult. Georgia Tech's playing, I say that, Wake Forest looked really good, but those are going to be 6 really hard games for them. But then they play a really weird series against NJIT. And I know this happens with the ACC because they start a week earlier than and so that's that's going to be a really odd RPI because their RPI is going to plummet because they play UMass Lowell twice, they play NJIT 3 times. That's 5 Q4 games and pretty like bad Q4 games. So it'll be it's always kind of fun to see the plus minus of where teams go in terms of like their RPI. You'll see a dip for Boston College, regardless of if they have to sweep. If they lose one of those games, it's really going to dip. So again, it's you only get 0.7 for wins at home and a 0.7 against like basically a bottom 15 team in the country. There are 308 D1 teams and JIT is 296. So that's just one of those schedules where you're like, crud, I don't know if we really wanted this one on our schedule.
Yeah. It's one of those like, well, now you sweep. I mean, you have to sweep and you have to take care of business there. And I know doubleheaders are hard already, so they got to play a doubleheader on Saturday. They have to play Sunday, and then they play Tuesday against UMass Lowell before they play Georgia Tech. But I still like their odds. I think if they take care of business against Clemson, you get. I mean, they're right there. It's going to hurt them in the RPI, but I think if they take care of business against Clemson, since it's Q1 at this point, it could drop to Q2. It's going to be really close to see what happens there.
Super fun team to watch.
Lots of fun.
They play with a ton of passion. I mean, I hate to always kind of compare things as they remind me of Kentucky a little bit, kind of like running, super energetic. Like, they play the game what I feel like with like a lot of passion. So I think as a fan, it's a really like fun team to watch as like someone who loves to look at the game from an analytical perspective. Like sometimes it's hard for me because they're only like plus 50 on the weekends and run differential, which is like 60th in the country. So like you look at that and you're like, how do they keep winning? And they keep winning because they kind of just keep doing the small things well. Them, Coastal, Southern Miss, a number of teams that, you take them in the aggregate, and sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you kind of zoom in on each of their weekends, they're like, well, they're not really losing. They're winning games they should. They've won on the midweeks. So it just kind of, it evens out to where like this is a good team. Boston College is a good team.
Boston College, good team. Like they win games. They're doing the right things. They win the games. They don't have to win by the long ball. They can hit it. Like they steal bases. They pitch well. They have an ace
30 in a game
Russo on Fridays.
However many.
Yeah. So I like where they're at. Let's talk about 2 teams that are really bubble and really direction weird, and they play each other this weekend. Is NC State and Miami. That's a big one for both of these teams. I think Miami right now bubble in. I like where they're at, but they're really close to that bubble. NC State bubble out if I was voting right now because of just overall work.
100% agree on NC State bubble out. I would say for me right now, I would say not that Miami's like for sure in, but I would say Miami is on the cusp of being in a lock. Now they still have some to do. They have no bad losses, really. They have no Q4 losses. When it feels like everyone has Q4 losses, they have 12 Q1, Q2 wins. They've got at NC State coming up. So you just talked about like, hey, 2 teams kind of like butting up against each other. But I really like this, Miami team. They do everything pretty well. It'll be, it was really unfortunate to see Evans go. Have we heard anything more? I know they were talking. Okay. Yeah. I have no idea about what happened with that. It looked like his knee, honestly, couldn't tell you. Knee, something lower leg honestly not 100% sure. I know it was a freak thing on a comebacker to the pitcher. So
Yeah.
I think I worry a little bit about starting pitching. I don't worry about their bats at all. Phenomenal offense. I really like this Miami team. So I don't think they're on the bubble. Quite frankly, I would say they're even if things go right. I mean, they could be hosting. I
They could be
really do
hosting.
think that. I mean,
Yeah.
they've got 6 Q1 games remaining. We already talked about Florida State, and I know our buddy Kane's Cat's in the chat talking about, hey, Florida State's not going to win the last weekend of the series, and I think it's going to be a big one for both, because
Yeah.
again, I think Florida State could be going in there and saying, like, are we in that 14 to 16 host range? Where are we at? Are we possible, top 8 seed? And then I think Miami could be saying, hey, we play our cards right. We're going to be. I mean, right now you look at them. What are they in the RPI? They're 31st in the RPI. So they're
31st.
kind of in that like funky spot. But you look at them like Elo, they're 17th. Massey, we have them 17th. Like, I mean, they have so many things that like they're basically 90th percentile in every metric that we look at. Now, nothing is kind of like upper echelon, but everything is in like that top 15, top 20. So they're a really well-rounded team, but you kind of have to start to worry about starting pitching, and just, ultimately what you're going to get. So I like this Miami team a lot. 12-9 in conference. They'll need to get up to that 16. And that's usually what the magic number is in the SEC, ACC is that 16. If you get to the 16, then you can really start to be talking about a host. So I think you're going to have a lot of fringe bubble, but I would say they're more fringe host than they are fringe bubble.
I think if they take care of business this weekend and win 2 out of 3 against NC State, it puts a really damper on NC State's season, and I think it puts Miami in the coast conversation. Like it just would at that point, going on the road and beating an NC State team that's back against the wall, and it would put them at 14 wins. I think that would put them at that point where, hey, they're a host team, and I like this Miami team. They're one of my Omaha 8 picks. So, and they have been since July. Like I really love the offense. I think that they have it. If Evans is healthy, all of a sudden, if he can get healthy before the end of the season and everything's okay, I really like this team a lot more. And they're road warriors, man. 9-4 on the road, so they're not afraid to go play people. Like they'll go beat teams on the road. And I think that that's one of the biggest things about them, and that's why they're up at 31 here versus some of these ACC teams that are a little bit lower because of that, because they're really good on the road. So going NC State's going to be a big one here. Big weekend for both these teams coming up. I think
NC State, huge. No idea NC State. I mean, for them, it's starting pitching. I think pretty simply,
so many injuries,
for them, it's starting pitching. 15 of their 16 earned runs were from their starting pitchers. So that bullpen was actually pretty good. But I think what you're talking about with injuries, like they just we talked about this last week when it was, talking about Marone and like basically losing these guys that at the beginning of the year, you're like, okay, this guy could be potentially all ACC pitcher. Like he's coming back, he's strong. Like this is going to be our focal point. And I think they've also had a little bit of a reduction in some of the guys like, Wiggins, who they got from Indiana and trying to understand like what they're going to be. And it's just one of the things. It's like everything's kind of impacting it. I will say like, our formula still really likes them, and I guess because everything's just in the aggregate, but they're one of those that I struggle with, them and Wake, and I know we'll get to Wake here in a second.
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about Wake right now. I mean, we can talk about Wake and Louisville, honestly, because that's kind of this weekend series also, which is a big one, because Louisville goes to Wake Forest, and they've played their way right back to their bubble out right now. I think that they're actually out, not bubble out, but they could play their way into that bubble out position because they're 10-11 now in conference. They've really struggled early, but they're one of those teams that's been getting hot later. The offense really rolls, whether they can get enough pitching or not. But they're going to Wake Forest, who had pitching but struggled this weekend. It's a big series for Wake Forest. I mean, they got to go out there. We keep saying, hey, this team like was a fringe host 3 weeks ago. They were going out there and taking care of business. And now it's like they might be bubble out on the way out. Like it's a scary spot for Wake Forest also.
So this reminds me a lot of the USC UCLA series where USC got swept, and I almost felt like I liked USC a little bit more. I almost feel the exact same way. Hey, you box score surf at the end and you go like, oh, like struggles for Wake. I mean, they probably should have won a couple of those games. And again, like, yeah, and it's one of the things. It's like they just couldn't get across the finish line. But I was talking to some Wake Forest because they're one of the teams that like my formula just could not let go of. They're like 94th percentile in 4 of our 6 key metrics, which is like XFIP, WOBA, OPS, runs per plate appearance. So like they've got some really key metrics. Their strength of schedules, I think 16. ELO has them like 17 or so. So like a number of things point to them as being like a top 20 team, but they just like it just feels like they can't get across the finish line. And I was looking at it, and I think they're like 2-12 or something like that in games decided by 2 runs. Like, don't quote me on it. Like I don't
It's
remember
the
the
complete
exact
opposite
number.
of Coastal, where Coastal wins
It's
close
literally
games and
the
Wake Forest loses them.
Coastal and Kansas are absolutely dominant in 2-run games. I think Kansas is 12-1 or 13-1, 13-1 in 2-run games. So sometimes teams just kind of have that gene of like, hey, we're going to win. Right now, I think Wake Forest is running into a little bit of the opposite, where every time it feels like they're right on the cusp of that coin flip, they're just not like they're not making it work. And so I think in the aggregate, it looks really good, especially like when you do it up against a team like Georgia Tech, who, you know, some individuals have them as the #1 team in the country now. I mean, Cade Lewis looks phenomenal. Like the pitching looks really, really good at times. I mean, I say at times because they kept Georgia Tech to a sub-1 OPS as a team. I know that sounds stupid, but it feels like they're the only team to be able to do that.
Them
So
them and UNC are the only two so far.
Yeah, I like Wake Forest. They're a team. We always talk about buy low, sell high, but I would, and again, I can't say that they are low, but I would be buying stock within Wake Forest if there's ever this theoretical, like, hey, what would be a 3 seed that could make a run? Because I do think they're teetering now in that, you know, needs to be a 3 if anything section. And if they're a 3 seed, they're not a 3 seed that I would want in my bracket. That's for damn sure. I mean, they're RPI 22, like they're going to be somewhere in that 2 to 3, but just being 11 and 13 in conference, you don't see a lot of teams that are sub 500 be 2 seeds. Those are generally the 3 seed kind of teams.
I'm worried for them if they don't take care of business this weekend against Louisville. Like, this is a big series weekend for them. They have to win it. They have to win 2 out of 3 because historically 14-win teams in ACC don't get as good of grace as a 13-win SEC team. Like, historically,
you're right.
It doesn't go that way for them very often. So if they don't get 2, all of a sudden they'd have to go down and sweep against Duke, which is possible. They could definitely sweep at Duke, but we've talked about the road troubles. 6-10 on the road is not where you want to be if you're Wake Forest trying to go sweep the last weekend at an in-state rival. Like, it's not the best location for them. So I think that they need to take care of business this weekend. If they get 2, all of a sudden that 13 and 15, you're like, or 13 and 14, you're like, okay, I feel a little bit better about that going into the last weekend against Duke, because then they could go in and get to 16 or 15 wins and feel pretty safe. But man, at least get 1 this weekend. But I think they got to get 2. Louisville's got to take the series to be considered now. I mean, yes, I know that they're only 10, but they have to take this series to be considered there. So pretty tough there. Lots and lots of stuff going on in the ACC. It's going to be interesting down the stretch. Again, Stanford play their way right back into the opportunity where they have to take care of business. They have some games right ahead of them where if they win those, you put them in. But it's a really interesting conference here as we go down the stretch here. I think Virginia Tech, we can agree, probably on the bubble out, and they really haven't played their
great weekend for them.
Great weekend.
Great weekend for them. But that's about all I can say. I think they've got too many holes. Too many holes in the resume. It's just kind of Swiss cheese at the moment. So
too many struggles, too many things to overcome.
Yep. Comment in the feed that someone was just asking if we can answer. It's associated with Rock Chalowski with the White Sox not being committed. That sounds insanity to me, honestly. I think he hit what is like 17th and 18th home run this weekend. He's probably the best defensive shortstop in the country. Not probably, he is.
He is.
So I think a lot of the discussion went into it was like, who's going to be that other? And I think LeBron's kind of taken a little bit of a step back. So honestly, I don't see
Tyler Bell's taking a step back. Like,
the only way they don't take him is if they want to save some money, and he wants to. But I think if anything, the last few years have shown is that programs are willing to spend a little bit of money for those top 3 picks. So I wouldn't worry about it at all. I think he's. I mean, you don't want to say cemented in there because you'll have some crazy years, but I don't see any way they let him go.
No chance. And the thing is, people are like, oh, he hasn't looked like this superstar defensively. It's because he makes really hard plays look average. He makes the really difficult plays look like they're an easy play. And then he makes these ridiculous plays look like they're hard versus the opposite, where some of these guys make an easy play look hard. He does not. He makes it look so smooth and easy. Teams are drooling over him. The White Sox, that might just be smoke if anybody's thinking that they're 100% going to take Rock.
Maybe they're just trying to like, mess with his agent or something.
Yeah, just trying to get the number down.
Full. Yeah, because I mean,
drop it by a few 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like there's something called range factor, which was another Bill James formula, which is basically like, what's your ability to just get to a ball? Because especially in the college game, you have so many really shitty scorekeepers. I mean, just to be blunt, it's not that like
it's
hard.
Books.
It is hard, but you'll see some hits go for errors or vice versa, and you're like, and there's no way that should. And so what range factor basically is just like how many balls do you get to, and he just gets to an absurd amount. So I'm not worried about him at all.
No, very, very good. And he's a great hitter, good contact, good power. Like he has all the things you want from a number one pick. So, and especially with the other shortstops kind of dropping off and not having this huge production season. So like it really separated.
Yeah, it feels pretty clear cut, frankly.
Yeah. Let's talk Big 12 here as we're getting into our first hour already. Kansas massive road series sweep at Kansas State. Jason, they're now 3 games up in the Big 12 and they look to be cruising. Fitz and crew are just like on some other pace right now. Unbelievable. I think it's 17 of their last 18 games have been victories for this Kansas club, and they just keep winning baseball games. It doesn't matter how they do it. They go out there and they just compete their butts off. Beating an in-state rivalry is awesome. Sweeping them on the road is another thing.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about, what was it, like a plus 15 run differential or something pretty silly. I know the first game was plus 12, but it's something pretty silly.
Yeah, they won the next games by 2 each. So I think it was plus 16.
Yeah, plus 16. Sorry. Terrible math. But ultimately, I mean, it was ironic because I actually saw both of these teams in a fall practice. Now it was like 50 degrees and it was spitting rain and it was no fun to be a part of. But I remember watching it and Kansas State just took it to them. And I went down after the game and I was talking with the coaching staff and, some of the coaches were like, this is a good thing. Like, we don't want to be, too high on ourselves. And Fitz kind of tore into them and their batting cages after the game. So like there was a number of things that kind of like it showed that I think they really wanted this weekend. And I already talked about like their incredible ability to win games within that 2-run differential. The hitting was just kind of incredible this weekend, which is, I mean, it's not that the hitting hasn't been great for Kansas, but they put up a 1.1 OPS as a team on the weekend. So that's an incredible hitting weekend. Kansas State, they're a really good hitting team, phenomenal hitting team. They're not really that, they haven't been able to pitch much this year. So it's good to see them go into a hostile environment and put up some real crooked numbers and a lot of innings to take advantage of what really was an opportunity for them. And now you're kind of saying like, well, damn, like what's their ceiling? I think that's kind of where I'm at with Kansas because it feels like it's pretty damn high. Like I
feels like it's a national seed.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, you look at them right now, they're 12th in RPI, they're 7th in DSR. We have them 15th. So they're kind of in that 11 range. If I were to just kind of average out the computers, we have their ceiling at 7th. So I mean, again, like if they're top 8, and they'll be a national seed. And I think that I hate to talk about jobs this early, on the season, but you look at what Fitz has done for that program. Like Kansas baseball 5 years ago was rough. I was rough. And the trajectory that they've been able to do in the last 3 years, I mean, they won 20 games in the Big 12 last year. They were 2 seed in the Fayetteville seed. Like it didn't go the way they wanted it to, but it showed like the program was on the up and up. You were kind of worried about them a little bit at the beginning of the year, and now it's just like, never mind. Like they just needed to find their footing. So I think, long story short, you love to see what's happening with the program right now. You're excited for the coaches, and I think their ceiling is kind of whatever they want it to be right now.
Yeah, if they take care of business this weekend against Arizona, then it's that huge weekend at home against West Virginia 2 weeks out. Like that's the one where they could really define whether they're a national seed or just in that host conversation. And at that point, like they could be sealing up that Big 12 conference at that point in that game against West Virginia. So very excited for this Kansas team. Kansas State on the other side, Jason, now at 9-12, kind of feels like they're out. Like I would last week I said bubble out, and if they had taken one from Kansas, all of a sudden I feel better about them being at 10-11. 9-12, it feels like they're out. They're going to have to do a lot of work to get back in this thing. We know they can hit. I don't think they have the pitching to get back in this thing.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing for the Big 12 that we've kind of glossed over for others is that there's just more opportunities for big games. But I will say, if there's one team in the Big 12 that kind of has those opportunities, it is Kansas State. So
Yep.
Kansas State has a shit ton of Q1 games remaining. So they play at Nebraska. So that's going to be a big opportunity for them. At West Virginia, they play at Missouri State. They play Cincinnati, who's doing well, and then they play at UCF. So the lovely thing for them is they have an incredible amount of opportunities. Now, you're very right. Like, they're on a downward trend. They're 4-6 in their last 10. RPI is almost in the 60s. But again, like, they can hit with quite legitimately anyone. They have a near 1.0 OPS as a team. Their WOBA is nearly 420 as a team. They score 9 runs a game. So they can hit, they can mash everything. If you want to see a fun scoring game, watch the Missouri State game, because that's two teams that the offense
is
just mash.
15-15. That could be football score, man.
I don't see, honestly, because it's going to be a massive game for both because of what Missouri State did this weekend. So both of those teams are really going to need that one from an RPI perspective. So that's going to be one of those games where you see the 4th through 6th best pitchers in the midweeks rather than, those 7th through 12th. So I right now, the only saving grace I have for Kansas State is their schedule. So they only have 3 losses in Q3, Q4, but it's the 2 and 7 in the Q1 wins, or the Q1 bracket, that's kind of holding it down. And if anything has shown from the committee, unfortunately, is that it's similar to what you were referencing with the ACC, is that the 13 isn't as highly thought of as the SEC. It's almost, you have to get to 15 in the Big 12, and that's going to be
6-3.
Yeah. So they've got to go 6-3, and we just talked about basically all of them. Their only remaining non-Q1 game is Omaha in the midweek, which I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop, frankly.
Yeah, it could be really tough for them. It just feels like they had their chances early. They could have taken more of these games, and then they didn't take enough of them early, and now it's a really tough schedule for them. Cincinnati, huge series win against West Virginia. Talk to me about West Virginia, though. This team's like, they've been trending down lately. Like, not bad, but they just haven't been winning those close baseball games like they were early in the season, Jason.
Yeah. West Virginia. So for me, I think this is kind of just a combination of how things have been trending. I mean, the pitching was pretty good this weekend, which, only a 3.4 ERA as a team. Like, I mean, I don't know. I really like Cincinnati. So a part of me is saying, hey, like, you lost to Cincinnati on the series, but another part of me is
Cincinnati.
saying it's a really good team.
Yeah.
And a Cincinnati team that is also wanting, almost like a Miami, of like, hey, are we in that host bubble? Are we in the host, 2? Where are we at? That kind of feels like where Cincinnati is. I think they're trying to make more of a presence. So my struggle is ranking wise for West Virginia, because I know they're still top 25 for many. We have them top 25, correct? Yeah. So that's my struggle. I don't know if they're a top 25 team anymore. I just don't.
I know. It's very close.
I think the thing that they have going for them is it's just kind of a mush. And like, even the game that they won, and that was dicey at the end. I mean, clearly it went to the 13th. So I mean, it's one of the things where I love the coaching staff. I love the ability, but I think this is now starting to get to where you see the starting pitching, and Montesa hasn't been there. Max, he was better, kind of at the beginning of Big 12 play. He pitch this weekend? Honestly, I know he went down a couple of weeks ago with what it was like arm tightness, but I couldn't remember if he pitched this weekend. Frankly, I didn't see that
I
game.
actually didn't see if he threw on Saturday or not. I did not see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And then we talked about Mayer not like basically being kicked off the team, 10 games into the season. So I think you're starting to see very similarly, not to the magnitude with NC State, but with the flux in pitching starting to catch up to them a little bit. I mean, the pitching wasn't bad this weekend, but there's two things that I've always kind of held me back with them is their pop, their ISO. Like they don't do hit a lot of extra base hits. It's just very similar to not exactly like a Boston College, but like they want to get like a Coastal. They want to get guys on. They want to move them over. They want to play small ball, and they want to win the game. In like a 6-4 fashion. They're not gonna be putting up 18 runs or whatever like they did like Kansas did versus Kansas State. So it's one of the things where I really like the team, but I do think these weekends are now starting to be more of a representation of who they are. That would be what I'd say.
Absolutely. I really think that it's a big thing here.
Thank God Will is here because I am talking way too damn
Will
much.
is back. Will's here.
I've taken over. What a commercial break. Did I miss the commercial break? I was listening on my way home.
We have not commercial break yet. We have not got to it yet. So you are good. I was going
to time it up perfectly.
It was getting close, though.
Honestly, I think you did. You did time it up pretty perfectly because we're basically done with the Big 12. So we're about to transition.
I was just
only took us 50 minutes
State.
to get to the top 25.
Arizona State has at UCF this weekend, and then Oklahoma State, who's rising and needing to get in there, also being at 11-10 for Oklahoma State. So I think that Arizona State is on the rise. Also, another one of those teams that going into whoever wins that weekend at UCF is going to be that second team that kind of competes with Kansas to see if they can hold on to that Big 12 title. So very exciting. Lots of good stuff there. Big 12 baseball is insane right now, and we love it. TCU also quietly back to 13-8 in conference and playing their way back into some confidence. They got Tommy Lepore back this weekend. I think that this team is a team on the rise. Watch out, folks. I think that they're trying to make that run back late as they are tied with West Virginia currently in the conference. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we didn't think that they were going to be there 4 weeks ago. All of a sudden, TCU's bought their way back in. I love it.
The committee is screwed. Hey, let me just summarize everything. I think the committee is screwed.
It's not going to be easy.
I mean, there's such a mush right now between 25 and 50. And, I think the hypotheticals have reduced, but the amount of teams that like 45 to 60 who are all saying like we can still make it. I think all of them can because again, that mush of the 30, like you could easily see in Arkansas who's like 34th or so in the RPI. You could see them really struggle, and then them being like the 40s and saying, okay, well their non-con was shit. Like, how are we going to let a team that only has 13 wins? So I think you're going to have this really difficult situation for the committee where they're going to have to look at their trends and say like, well, we used to just let every SEC team that won 13. Are we going to do that now?
Game? I don't think so, Jason. I think the RPI says that a lot of those teams may not get in. I know that people are always like, oh man, they're going to get 14 in that conference this year. I don't know if 14 teams get in.
There's no way.
I don't believe no way. I think it's 12, maybe 13 on the fringe, but I think it's 12 teams get in, and I think that they're going to cut a couple other ones that people are going to be like, oh, I didn't think that 13 was going to be a cut. I think we're going to see some, but I don't think every team gets to 13 either. I think we're going to have 3 teams that don't get to 13 wins, and we instantly cut them.
My hot take is I still think Vandy will be on the bubble.
They need 14.
When selection Sunday, I think Vandy is going to be one of those 8 teams that they talk about a lot. And I know everyone's like, oh, they're in the 60s in RPI right now. Like their schedule sets 69th. Up for them. Yeah, their schedule sets up for them to be in that discussion. And I think you're going to have some ADs in the room, which again, this blows my freaking mind that there are going to be ADs in the room that are going to be somewhat associated with programs around the bubble. And there's just going to be this massive discussion of like, what's more important, like the name on the jersey, the number on the RPI, or whatever like thing that they're wanting to point to. So yeah, committee screwed.
It'll be interesting because that's the thing. If, like I said, if Vanderbilt wins all 6 games against South Carolina and Mizzou, they have 15 wins instantly in conference.
Oh, they're for sure in.
And then they're 15? In. And even if they're at, even if their RPI is in the high 60s still, they'd be in. Like, that's what you'd have to put
Yeah.
them in at 15 wins. That's the problem. Like, I think the committee's got some problems ahead of them. Big Ten, really quick here. USC beats down Purdue and kind of ends Purdue's chances here. Like, if Purdue takes one, it kind of gave them a shot. I feel like it put them in a really bad spot after getting beat down. USC shows that they are one of those teams that's in the top 25. Like, we had them trending down and almost out of the top 25 last week. They go down, or at home, they just took care of business and really looked. The pitching was elite again. They looked like a top 25 team. You know, it's one of those teams that when you play good, you look good. USC looks good. I like where they're at right now. Nebraska takes 2 out of 3. Illinois is good. Like, don't get me wrong. Illinois can hit. So them taking 2 out of 3 on
put
the
up
road
what,
at
16
Illinois,
against Oregon the week prior. Yeah,
and they walked it off with a grand slam like late. Like, Illinois can hit. So folks that are saying, "Oh, that was like that was not a bad loss." Illinois can hit. Shut that shit down. Nebraska's a good baseball team taking 2 or 3 on the road. Like, boom, that's a great baseball team.
I think really. Yeah.
Go ahead. Talk about Nebraska. I wanted you to dive in on Nebraska.
I mean, ultimately, I think what this is just solidifies 4 teams for sure in the Big Ten. Like, I think we were talking about this last. It was like how many? I think now there's for sure that 4 are going to get in, because you had Oregon take care of business, and Oregon was kind of in that like 25 region. So it's like, oh shit, well, if they have another like down, are they going to be in the mid 30s in the RPI? And like, no, I think all 4 are now like stone cold locks. And I think the fact that you have Nebraska, I think they're like 12th in the RPI. I mean, again, like, and I think USC's top 10. So it's just kind of silly right now. Again, I was talking to the SC coaches this morning, and I was just like, it's really great to see, this proud program that kind of went through some turbulence over the last 5 or so years really start to come back to it.
It feels stabilized, and I love it. And I got their home ballpark. Very excited. Here's the thing. Oregon has Washington, and then at UCLA, and then at home against USC. So they get 2 of the top 10 RPI teams. They get 6 Q1 games there. Oregon's got it in front of them to where they could play their way into a host, Jason. Like, if they take care of business, they could play their way into a host.
I don't know, man.
Some of the things that people don't want to talk about, but
some prognostications don't even think they're top 25, man. So I don't know. They're
I think they are. I really believe that this team should be in there, and the fact that Baseball America doesn't have them in there kind of blows my mind why they still don't think they're a top 25 team, especially after taking 2 or 3 from Nebraska. But I don't know, man. We're gonna see. I mean, that's why we play the games.
With the mush of 16 through whatever, you would think that success would be rewarded. But
with the sweep, and then they're still putting them down.
Yeah. But I mean, it's resurgent year for Big Ten. Minnesota,
I love to see it.
Has looked pretty good. They looked good against Northwestern.
Ohio State's been playing better. Purdue played like great.
Yeah. Like, and Ohio State, it was a struggle last year. So it's great to see that Campbell coaching staff, they went up to Ohio State. They're trying to turn things around. So, I mean, the Big Ten baseball, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the year when we were trying to pick, like, preseason pitchers of the year. And we were like, who are we going to pick? And because, all of like Vigu and all of these guys went, oh gosh, who's the Tennessee Saturday night guy? Who came from Rutgers? I don't know why.
Landon Mack.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, the top pitchers of the Big Ten
all left.
Like, who's it going to be? And so to see the conference doing so well is really pretty awesome, because there's a lot of really strong history with some of those programs. So I don't know, happy for them.
Yeah, you look back in the history of college baseball, the World Series, a lot of these Big Ten teams won things before the 80s, and then it hit, and it'd be great to see them back in dominance. Will, right before we cut to our first commercial break, UCLA drops 1, almost drops 2. Is this like looking ahead, or kind of like just like maybe they just had a bad weekend?
I think Sac State is just solid. Like, I think they're just
not bad.
They're a good team, man. And I know LSU is kind of the dumpster fire of the SEC this season right now, and things are not great in Baton Rouge, but Sac State is like a really solid team. Like heaven forbid they find a way in and you draw that team as a 4 seed or a 3 seed. Like, they're going to give somebody fits if they find a way into the postseason. And I mean, quite honestly, they should have taken that series too. And talk about an RPI boost. What an RPI boost that would have been for them.
Oh my gosh.
But I just think they're solid. Like, I don't necessarily think it's a look ahead. I think they're just a really feisty, scrappy team that you don't want to play.
Yeah, and Oregon's got a tough schedule ahead of them also. I mean, UCLA's got a tough schedule ahead of them also. In 2 weeks, they host Oregon, and then they're at Washington to end the season. I mean, it's not an easy schedule for UCLA going forward. So I think that it wasn't necessarily looking forward. I think that they just ran into a team that wanted to play really good at UCLA, and that's what Sacramento State did. So I wanted to give the hats off to them and also say that's a really good win, and they should have won too. Kind of a mistake on their part not to win this first one, but hey,
that last play was insane.
That was insane.
That's the first game.
Like you just don't want to watch it. Like just hang on to the ball, don't throw it. Oh no, he threw it. Oh no. Oh man.
Yeah, a little snowball fight to push two across.
It's just every first baseman sees that ball kind of go in the 4-hole, and you're like, I can get to it. it.
It takes a really good one to lay off.
Yeah. Awesome coaching staff. Just want to throw out there one of our programs. Really enjoyed talking with him this summer. So great to see that, they're having success.
Love it. I think that that's a team that's on the rise also. I really do. That whole athletic department's awesome. So I love it.
Yep.
Let me tell you this though. You know how you get better? Level up your processing speed. You lift, you hit, you watch film, but are you training how fast you process the game? I got my visual edge glasses today. I can't wait to try them out later this week. Going to be seeing if I can get better at my hand-eye coordination to help my game. At the college level, the speed jump is real. Even if you're slightly behind recognizing spin or depth, you're already way behind. Visual Edge trains that visual and cognitive skills that sit underneath performance. Pitch recognition, tracking accuracy, reaction time, and decision speed. It's all in there. You begin with the Edge test. It benchmarks you against other players in age your level and sees how much you match up with them with your numbers. Then the system builds a personalized plan designed to specifically make you better. Takes about 15 minutes a day. You can do it one short session on your laptop or tablet, in your dorm room, at home, on the road, wherever you are. Anything bigger than a phone works. Listeners of this show can use code CBSHOW for first month for free 3D glasses, and shipping. No long-term contract. Cancel anytime. Go to visualedge.com/sign up and use code CBSHOW. That's visual with a Z. When the game speeds up, train your brain to slow it down. All right. Now that we got you back, Will, Cincinnati, welcome to the top 25. The only team that does drop out is Missouri State. We know that they got swept by Louisiana Tech. But Cincinnati, welcome to the top 25. What a huge weekend for them. Jason and I talked about it a little bit, but taking care of business at home against West Virginia and kind of being a trending team up.
Yeah, that 25 spot, quite honestly, was kind of tough to pin because we included a Big 12 team and it wasn't UCF, who is 4 games ahead of them in the standings. Right. It was 4 games ahead of them in the standings. But then you look at the resume and it's like Cincinnati's 8-9 in Q1, 5-4 in Q2. UCF is 5-8 in Q1, 7-2 in Q2. Like it almost feels like a wash, and Cincinnati's playing really, really good of late, whereas UCF has kind of been trending in the other direction. And one of those teams that doesn't have a ton of bad losses, I wouldn't say, and a team that like fan base has been banging down the door has been Jack State. Cincinnati has a series win over Jack State. Like they've been really solid this year and playing unbelievably good baseball. I mean, a team that is 96 of 112 on stolen bases this year. Freshman Enzo Infeliz has been just absurd this season. And talk about like, we all talked about Jack Natili being the dude when we were coming into the season, and by no means is he having a bad year. He's got 13 home runs, but then you've got Quinton Coates with 23 homers, and he's got the program record running. And Nate Taylor continues to be a really, really good arm for them. And I know the ERA isn't quite what it was last year, but 87 punch outs and 63 innings, like only 19 walks. Dude is pretty freaking good this year. So this is another team, like kind of one of those 2-3 teams. I think the conference record is going to hurt them in terms of seeding. I mean, obviously, we still have 3 weekends to go, so there's a lot of time for that. But a team that could draw a 3 seed again, and we saw what they did in regionals last year. Like, this is not a team you want to draw at all. And I think they're, the 20th in RPI right now. Really fun team. The Bishop Ball brand is alive and well, and man, they're playing phenomenal baseball right now. And again, just not a team that I want to face. And they've got Houston this weekend. I think it's a big series in terms of. It's a good conference standing boosting weekend. Now they have to go on the road, and Houston has been feisty at times, but not quite what I thought they were going to be coming into the season. So this is a really good opportunity for Cincinnati to get above 500 in conference play, kind of get ready to play Kansas State. Like Jason was talking about earlier, like that offense is crazy, crazy good. Like they're going to have to play some good ball to go beat Kansas State in Manhattan. So they've got a couple of weekends that I think are really good opportunities for them to boost where they're at in the Big 12 standings and have the committee look upon them a little bit more favorably than right now, because right now they're 10-11 in conference play. So a little bit tough to look at them in that really, rose-colored lens. But I think you look at the ceiling of what this team could be, and they're going to be really freaking scary in a regional.
Here's the thing: they sweep this week, and all of a sudden it's 13-11, and that's a lot better feeling. And then you're like, okay, now they're talking about this team could get up to 16, 17 wins and feel really good about themselves in conference. And then it's a whole different outlook for the Cincinnati team. They struggled a little bit early. They had some games that they blew that they probably shouldn't have. Looking at like the BYU series where they had some of those games and they blew 2 of them. Like, man, they wish that they had some of those back, but the season's still in front of Cincinnati. They have it in front of them to where they can play their way into being a 2 seed or at least a really, really good 3 seed. Number 24, Florida, down 3, Jason, still a very good baseball team. A&M's great. I picked Florida to win this weekend. I thought that they would take care of business. They took care of the Friday night game. I'm like, okay, feeling pretty smart. A&M's really freaking good at baseball, but Florida's still a very good baseball team, and they deserve to be top 25 still.
Yeah, I think if you told me that Florida would keep A&M to, they only walked them 4 times, they would have like a 5 ERA, like being at home, I think I would like where Florida would be. And, A&M hit some long balls. It was pretty much that's what this series was about. It was about some long balls. It was about, it was about Jordan Wilson jumping on the stage for everyone thinking like, holy shit, like, where has this guy been? Again, I'm going to toot my own horn here. But when I saw him live versus TCU, I texted the A&M staff and I was like, holy shit, who's that guy? So it's wild to me that it took this long for him.
Who's that linebacker you have playing outfield?
Oh my god, dude! Again, he made some, and I don't know if you saw the outfield assist he had. That was like again absurd. Like so, 5-tool player. I mean, this guy he also had the weirdest RBI single you ever see with Keel trying to steal second. It was a hit and run. And basically, because it was like 75 exit velo right into the 6 hole where the shortstop just vacated, it was first to home on a hit and run. So you don't really see RBI singles with no error when a guy starts on first base, but you saw that. So I mean, there was some odd things that happened in the series. You have to be really again just thrilled with what we saw with Aiden King, probably one of the most dominant starts of only had 6 Ks, but again, no walks. It's really hard to strike out this Texas A&M team, the incredible program. So I think I'm kind of just done trying to pick and choose how good Florida is, or how good or not good or whatever. They're a very good team. I think they just went up against a team that right now is playing like an Omaha favorite, as crazy as that is to say.
Yeah.
So I think right now they just have to find hitting. Bowen has just kind of been down a little bit. They're still trying to figure out where does Jones kind of fit in all of this? I mean, he still went 3 for 14, had a double, but Curlin had a decent weekend, but the power just really hasn't been there. I think that's one of the things that, when you had Lawson, who was kind of going crazy at the beginning of the year, his powers was wild. He was 2 for 10 in this series. And so I think kind of when you have that vacancy in the power, you start to wonder well, where is it going to come from? They had 3 home runs. They had a lot of doubles. I mean, they still had a 450 slug, an 810 OPS as a team, but it's kind of one of those things when your opponent's putting up 7 bombs, it's hard to win kind of a pitching tennis match, which felt like a lot for this weekend when one team is just kind of throwing haymakers in between kind of those back and forth serves of zeros.
It just felt like Florida couldn't get that big hit on Sunday either. It just felt like they had all these opportunities. They just could not get that run in. And that was the difference as that A&M did. And Jordan Wilson was so good. Like that home run he hit, and then he throws the guy out of the plate in the 8th inning against that was a game changer. Because if he doesn't throw him out, all of a sudden it's a 2-run ball game. Florida's got a guy on with 2 outs. That changes everything. Unbelievable. Texas A&M good. Florida's still good. People shouldn't be so far down on them. Alabama, number 23, down 4, Jason, here. They go to Tennessee. Tennessee's playing a lot better baseball. They take that first one. You're like, okay, all right, maybe this is the Alabama team that we saw early in the season. And then the next 2, it was all Tennessee, and it was some big issues on the offense there for Alabama.
Yeah, I think you just said it, pretty, succinctly there at the very end. Is offense. The offense has basically just become inept for the team. I mean, you're talking about they score They score their last 10 where they're 3-7. They've scored less than 3, and I think half of them. And that includes a win at Texas where I think it was like 2-1. So I mean, the offense has just basically become non-existent. All of that being said, they're 7th in the RPI.
Yeah.
What? They almost feel like an Oklahoma for me. Where like I want to jump off the bandwagon. I really do. I mean, they're 10-11 in conference. I mean, you look at them; they're just the most. I said this last weekend. The most roller coaster of roller coaster teams in the country, where they'll sweep and then they'll get swept. They'll sweep and then they'll get swept. And then they'll go on like a 6-game spread where they're 1-5. Like it's just I don't know what to do with this team, and I think it all comes down to hitting. I mean, almost very similar to Florida, just with not as good of pitching. I think would be the best way to put it. But again, like they're firmly in right, which kind of blows my mind. They're 7th in the RPI. So part of me is kind of wondering, like, what do they have to do to not be firm? Because really, this is a team that they just need 3. They just need 3.
3 wins and 3-6 does it for them. Yeah,
they only have 4 Q1 games remaining, but the wild thing is one of those is like a Q3 series versus Vanderbilt. We just already talked about, like, Vanderbilt's gonna want to make a lot of noise in that, and that's going to be a Q1 opportunity for Vandy. So like, and we just talked about at South Carolina, like that's a Q2 series for them, but South Carolina is playing better ball. So I struggle with this Alabama team a lot. I could see them being, very easily. I could see them being 17-13 in conference because, they sweep Vandy and they sweep South Carolina, and then maybe they take 1 of 2 from Ole Miss, something like that. I could very easily see that. And they're, 12th national seed. Super easy to see that because they'll be probably in the top 8 in the RPI. But I could also see them going 13-17. And then everyone being like, well, what the hell do we do with Alabama? And I think you have to let them in because, I mean, their overall strength of schedule is number 2 right now. They've played.
They'd have to go 2-7 to be out.
Yeah,
I to go out.
So this is a really hard team for me because their quality wins are phenomenal. They've got some incredibly impressive quality wins. They swept Auburn. They swept one of the best teams in the country. But then they also have some losses where you're just kind of like, what? So I struggle with this team. Now, they don't really have any like resume drags where I would call it. They have no Q4 losses. But what I mean by like some whats is like being swept by Arkansas. Like that one just doesn't make any sense to me. So they're a team where 1 week I want to say they're the team that swept Auburn, and they're a team that the next week I'm saying, hey, they're the team that got swept by Arkansas. And I never know really which team they are. So I'm on the fence with Alabama, but I think at the end of the day, you look at them and say, you're 7th in the RPI. Like you feel firmly in, but you also have to say, like, what team are we when we get in?
Yeah, 3 wins and they're in, and they could do that this weekend at home against Vanderbilt. Like they could do that, and all of a sudden we're like, now we're talking host because then they've got South Carolina. If they win all 3 of those, then it's like that's a 16-win team, and then you put them in the host conversation. So yeah, it's all over the board for them. So
if they win 6 in a row, I mean they'll be top 5 in the RPI. Like, quite legitimately.
16 SEC wins, and you'd be like, yep, they're a host. Now that doesn't matter what they do the last weekend, they'd be a host. So
100%.
It's confusing. Number 22, West Virginia, and this is a team that's down 7 and trending down right now, and it's weird because they've been really competitive, but the fact is that now they are in 4th place, tied with at TCU in conference. They're behind UCF and Arizona State and Kansas, and they still have series against Kansas State. They're at home against Kansas State, at Kansas, and then at home against TCU, who they're tied with currently. They got some tough games ahead of them. They got some games that they have to go win. This team is by no means solidified themselves as being one of those like national seed contenders. They're not in that top 16 seed right now. They're a 2 seed right now, but they've got to go win some baseball games still ahead of them. I think that 15 wins puts them on the bubble. If they get to 16, so if they win 3 of the next, they're in. But these are not easy games for them, and they've got to pitch better flat out. Like that's what it is. Like they just haven't been able to be great on either side of the ball. They've had enough offense. They've had enough pitching this far in the season, but they've got some really big testers here the next 3 weeks for them. So I think that they have to pitch better to be considered to be, hey, we're a high 2 seed, or we're in that conversation to be in that 16. But I think that at this point, unless they go ridiculous 7-2, 8-1 down the stretch here, they're out for being able to win the Big 12 regular season title. Like, they're too far behind Kansas now. They could go sweep Kansas. That would change things. But being at Kansas, being as I've been there, that's a very tough ballpark. I don't see them sweeping at Hoagland, but you never know. Crazier things have happened, and West Virginia went and swept and took 2 or 3 at Arizona State, where I didn't think that they could do that either. So this team confuses me. What Dawson Montez are you going to get on Friday nights? That's going to be a big deal. Is Yield going to be healthy? Like, these are big things we have to see going down the stretch for them as far as West Virginia. They could stay in the top 25, or they could drop out by as early as next week if they struggle with Kansas State this weekend. That's how on the border this team is right now. Number 21, down 1, Oklahoma. Will, they have a brutal 9-game stretch coming up. Absolutely brutal 9-game stretch. They won that game. Cam Johnson, tip of the hat. We said it on the Saturday morning show. He's got to be electric. He did it. He carried that team, and he willed them to a victory. They've got to go out and find some victories. Now they have 11 wins, but what are they going to do here? Like, this is a tough 3-series stretch for them in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, Jason took the words right out of my mouth when talking about Alabama. Like, this is a team that I am getting off of the bandwagon on, and I'm going to go like a little bit of hot take theater here. Like, quite frankly, I think they're ranked because they have a winning record in the SEC, but they're really hanging the hat on the A&M series. Like, you look up and down that resume, and honestly, at this point, I'm not even 100% sure they're a top 25 team. Really not. That, right? The series wins are the A&M series win, which is absolutely huge. You know, I can't take anything away from that. I know A&M wasn't the A&M team that they are right now, but that has just continued to be a better win as the season has gone on. So that's really helped them out. But then you've got LSU and Vandy and Mizzou. It's like they're kind of fool's gold to me, you know? And again, they play a fun style of baseball. Like, I love that they run 93 stolen bases this year. The pitching, like, Cam Johnson has been insanely good for them. Like, he can go up against anybody in the SEC, in my opinion. But I'm off the Oklahoma bandwagon, and you're right. Like, this upcoming schedule is brutal. I mean, and this is a weird series, right? Because it feels like whoever loses this weekend between them and Florida is out of the rankings.
Yeah.
And then they've got Arkansas in Fayetteville, which, like, who knows? Like, genuinely,
Arkansas's playing for their tournament hosting life, and we don't know what we coin flip which team we're going to get. Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea what to make of that. And then they've got Tennessee, who, like, again, Tennessee is super confusing. Tennessee was a team that I voted for to be in this week. Like,
I did too.
And
they should be. I'll just say that flat out.
I completely agree. I think Tennessee's resume, even with the bad losses, is more impressive than what Oklahoma has right now. I'll be honest. Like, so I'm off the Oklahoma bandwagon. I really am. So I don't know what to make of this team. I really don't. Like, I don't really know who they are, because they have – I thought they looked good against Auburn. I'll put it that way. Like, I thought they competed really well this weekend, last Sunday, but they played well this weekend for the most part.
Yeah, they did.
And that to me was like, okay, this team, like, they're not bad. I said it last week too. They were really confusing. I think we had them at 20th or 19th last week. And I said it last week.
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that feels like they're 20th, and, like, that's what they are, right? It's not, you know, it doesn't feel like they're going to be a 15, but it doesn't really feel like they're team 40, and to feel like they're right in that 20 range. Quite honestly, I think they're a little bit closer to that 35 range than maybe 20. But man, I will say I'm off the Sooners bandwagon.
It feels tough because they beat the teams that are below them and lose the teams that are above them, and it feels like they have 3 teams that might be playing.
And they've done it every weekend,
last 3 weeks,
except for Texas A&M. Except for Texas A&M,
that's the only one. But they were playing better than Texas A&M at that time, and they were higher than them at that time.
And they split with Arizona
and
State.
they looked phenomenal in Arlington. Like, they looked like freaking world beaters in Arlington.
Yep.
And
100%.
I think I said this last weekend that I really feel that a lot of the nostalgia or the ranking from Oklahoma is associated with the fuzzy feelings that we had for them at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And you know, sometimes it's hard to let go of those first impressions, and they looked really freaking good when McCrearis and Johnson were going wild. But now it's like, you know, who the hell are you going to get in those situations? So,
you know, this next team also, number 20, Virginia, kind of feels the same way, Jason, where they've been trending down really fast, and it feels like how well they played early has kind of kept them right here. But that's a team that is down 10 in the rankings. So we still had them 10th last week, getting swept by Pitt. And we talked about Pitt a lot. We like Pitt. Big win for Pitt. Tough loss for Virginia to not take at least one. Like, they have to figure out a way. They only have 6 conference games left, and they're 12-12 now. This is not a host team, whereas 3 weeks ago, we're like, hey, that's a host team. This is maybe even a top 8 seed. Like, this is a great. The pitching has fell apart. They don't have the pitching. The arms have really just not gotten any better this season. They are missing guys. AJ Gracia's out. Like, they're missing guys all over the lineup. This team feels like it is struggling. It's closer to being out than they are to being a host at this point. That's kind of the direction this poor team is heading right now for Virginia. I'm really, really scared for them coming up over the next couple of weeks, as they have 6 games left, and they have to go out and at least win half of those games. And right now, it doesn't feel like a team that can win half of those games. Like, I just look at it and I go, the pitching's not there. They're missing guys on offense. Like, how do they go out there and figure out a way to win 6 games? Like, yes, their games are against Cal and at Louisville. We know that Louisville's been trending the right direction. We know they're 10-11, but they're trying to fight for their tournament life. And Cal's tough. Cal's been playing teams really tough. So I don't know. Maybe they get the 3 from Cal and we feel differently about them, and all of a sudden they're at 15-12. But I don't think that they have the ability to sweep anybody the rest of the season. That's the way I look at this Virginia team right now.
Agreed. I mean, they haven't scored more than 5 runs, basically, except for that one Notre Dame game where they went crazy. So, I mean, the offense has just been a real struggle. 4-6 in their last 10. I mean, you still feel good about where they're at, clearly. You know, they're 21st in the RPI. But I agree with you. I think it's just trending the wrong direction. And we talked about Louisville and kind of like what Louisville – they've got Cal. Cal has looked pretty good. And then they've got, you know, again, that oddity of the ACC where they only have 2 ACC series remaining.
And we saw, the fact is, you know, that Virginia team won 16 games last year and didn't make the tournament with a similar resume. And you're telling me, I mean, I'm looking at that going, if they don't get to 15, at least they're not in. So if they only go 2-4 down the stretch here, that's not good enough for them. Like, honestly,
I will say that one of the main reasons that what killed them was RPI. So not only
RPI killed them last year. Yeah.
Like they had the conference, but this year will be the opposite. Like, their RPI, and that's why I think they're in regardless. Like, I would say they're a lock, but I just don't. Previously, it was, hey, are they going to host? I think now it's like they could still host, clearly. Like, if they sweep at Louisville,
5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, they could very easily go 6-0 though. I mean,
they could.
Like, we don't know what Louisville we're going to get. You know, you could get one where Tage Davis is just hitting a million home runs. But if you're not scoring runs, then it's just hard to win any game. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you watched the Liberty midweek, but for the vast majority of that game, Liberty looked like the better team. And Liberty's good.
Liberty is a great team. I like Liberty. I like Liberty a lot.
But that was one of the ones that, again, low scoring game, and they just barely eked it out. So that was a good game, really good game.
Yeah, and Liberty that was their second midweek game of the week. So that's the tougher part too, for Liberty, who are already lower on arms. They went in there and competed with that Virginia team. So I like them. Number 19, another team that dropped 10 is Florida State. And you know, this team's trending down fast, but they've got some games ahead of them that they need to win. So Pitt, we already talked about. Pitt's playing for their tournament life this weekend, and it's at Florida State. Florida State needs to figure out a way to score some runs and take care of business. And they have to – it's not going to be easy. They got to stop a red-hot offense in Pitt. Pitt can hit. We know that. The pitching for Pitt is the question mark. Can they stop this Florida State team? Right now, it doesn't feel like anybody can let this team get going. So hopefully Florida State can figure it out offensively. They've really been struggling on that side. Their bullpen has had their issues now lately, which has been tough. Like, I know that it was a tough weekend for them, but at Stanford, they really needed to take at least one of those games. They probably should have taken the series, because I feel like the talent-wise, that gap should be much bigger than it was. Now, Stanford at home is always tough. It's tough to win down there at the Sunken Diamond. Stanford's tough. We've already talked about how good Vittorio Sasaki was. Like, unbelievable. Florida State's got to be better. That's just what it comes out to. Beard's got to be better. Moore's got to be better. They got to get more. They got to get better production from all of their bullpen, and they have to score runs. Flat out, they got to score runs, and they haven't been able to do it. The 2-out hitting has been atrocious. I think they hit sub 100 on the weekend in 2-out hitting, which is just never going to win you baseball games when you're struggling anyway, and you can't find a 2-out hit to get you that RBI. They got to be better offensively. They have get-right games, like I said. If they take care of business against Pitt, they got Clemson, and then they got Miami, which is a big test. So if they stumble against Pitt or Clemson, they might play their way out of being a top 16. They may not even be a host at this point if they continue to trend the way they are right now. So I have big concerns about that offense, but they could also get it right. And all of a sudden, if they go win 5 of the next 6 or 6 of the next 6, then all of a sudden you're talking about them being a host and locking it up. So there's a lot there for them. We know what they have on the starting pitching side. Need better bullpen, need better offense if you're a Florida State fan. Will, Arizona State, 18, up 5, really took care of business this weekend. Offense got going again. This is a team that if they can pitch and hit the ball like they did this weekend is in the conversation for a seed.
Yeah, Baylor's been really feisty this year, so this is not to be slept on. I mean, they kind of took it to them in most of that series. So impressive series win. I think the jump is more drastic because of what happened in front of them, not necessarily because we're waiting, Baylor as that quality of a win, but a lot of teams. I mean, we had 11 teams lose series in our top 25 from last week, 5 of which got swept. So, a lot of teams fell pretty drastically. This is a big stretch, though, because Arizona State has lost 3 of their 4 last midweeks.
Yep.
They play at UCF this weekend. So, a little bit of trending opposite directions. UCF is in dire need for that. But man, this offense is just crazy. I mean, led by, in my opinion, Golden Spikes winner Landon Hairston. I mean, I don't think anybody in the country is holding a candle to what that kid is doing right now. Now I know that the award has become a little bit more of like a draft guy award. Like, who's the best player that's going to get drafted this year? It would be silly of him to not win it. I mean, you look at what he's doing compared to, previous winners, compared to what Aloy did last year, compared to what Condon did last year or a couple years ago.
Previous year.
It should be Hairston, right? It's nothing else. And Cole Carlin has been unbelievable. He's approaching on 100 strikeouts very quickly. Was touching triple digits last weekend. And they've got some bullpen arms that they've really relied on that have been really solid in Fitzpatrick and Schaefer and Linder and Penn. Those are guys that have a ton of appearances so far, and they're really leaning on those guys. And they've got a lot of different guys that have, 10-plus appearances that have shown flashes. Like Alex Overbay has shown flashes. I got to see him in Arlington early on. Like, when that kid is on, I remember me and Tyler looked at each other when he came in. Like, who is this kid? Like, the stuff is insane, but he's pitching to a 6.5 right now. Like, those are guys that I think down the stretch help them a lot more than maybe what on paper it looks like they help them with. But I think they've got 4 or 5 really, really solid bullpen arms that have a ton of appearances, that have done really good work for them. You've got a true ace. I mean, this is a complete team for the most part. I think the rotation after Klecker is a little bit questionable. Like, what do you do on Sundays?
Yeah.
What version of Klecker are you going to get? But true ace, unbelievable offense. I mean, that sets you up nicely in regional play, and when a lot of teams have to rely on that depth.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Cole Klecker. He's been so much better the last few weeks. Like, he seems like he's found himself. He's landing the breaking ball, which is the biggest thing for him, because he's not going to blow you away with the fastball. He's not going to get by you with that. But if he's landing both breaking balls, all of a sudden he's a lot tougher on the mound, and he's been able to do that. Moving to the Saturday roll's been good for him. So it's just really, what are they going to do on Sundays? If they could find a third starter, this team would be really, really dangerous come regional time. But I like Arizona State the way that they're hitting the ball right now. USC trending up also, up 8, Will. This team proved us all wrong. Like, we took Purdue this weekend. All of us in the pick and we're like, okay, USC's trending down. Purdue's playing really good baseball. I started this trend. It was all my fault. I was all high on this Purdue team and kept talking them up. And then USC took it to them. They're like, hey, there's a woodshed. I'm going to take you out here. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And that's exactly what they did to that Purdue team. It was unbelievable what they did.
I swear, when I took Purdue, I really thought that I was going to be the only one to take them. Like, I thought I was going to be like, no one's going to take them. Like, USC bounce back weekend. Give me Purdue. Like, I got to take one dog this week. Give me Purdue. And then everybody took them. Like, the trendy dog, everyone fell for it. I mean, USC is a good team, right? We've talked about it over and over again. I think Nebraska is a very good team. I think Lincoln is a particularly hard place to go play baseball.
Yeah.
I think UCLA is a really good team. And I know people have kind of been pointing at the consistency of the lack of Q1 performance with USC. I think that's, if you want to put a knock on them, I think that's the knock. But this is a really good team, right? Again, a team you don't want to see in your regional if they don't host. And I think they're a fringe on that. I don't think that's unfair.
I wouldn't have them hosting just because of Q1 reasons. But
agreed.
I mean, the RPI says that they're right there.
Yes, I guess that's the way to put it. Is like RPI says you're ninth, the strength of schedule is 36th, but you're 0-8 in Q1. Probably shouldn't host. That's a terrible two to draw. Like that is a not fun two to draw when you got to go face Govil and Edwards. Like, what are they gonna? They're gonna pitch off because Govil is like really really good, and then you get Edwards in game two just because. So, I mean, a good team nonetheless. Like, are they going to score enough in a regional setting? I think that's the big question with them, but. A very solid team that handles business against teams that, quite frankly, they're better than.
Yeah, I think that they took care of business, what they needed to do, and show that they're there. That last weekend series against Oregon is going to tell us a lot about both of those teams, I think. And it's in Eugene. It's going to be exciting for that one. I will actually not be at that series because I'll be up in Seattle for the UW and UCLA series. So
nice.
That one will be interesting. So number 16, Ole Miss, Jason, is up 1 even after losing the weekend, but they're still really impressive. I really am high on this Ole Miss team.
Yeah, watching the games, they're really lucky that they won one game. Like, one of my big talking points has been it's almost impossible to beat Ole Miss on Friday. I mean, they won. I mean, I know it was a doubleheader, but it was the first game. I mean, they won it again. I think they're undefeated on Fridays in the SEC, which is absurd. Don't quote me on that, or quote me. I don't care, whatever. And when you've got, Elliott giving up 8 earned run in game 1 of a doubleheader, I was like, they're in trouble. And frankly, I think they're a little lucky to come out of there with the W, which, at the end of the day, they went up against a giant that is Georgia. Georgia's kind of just playing out of their mind right now, frankly. I think that's kind of the best way for me to put it. But you look at it, and a few of those things just kind of like red flags. Like Becerra and Udemark did not have good weekends. I think they were 4 for 30 combined. And you really love that you see Furness starting to come on. I mean, the pitching is still pretty good.
Federico,
but Aoki looked absurd. Like again, I think Georgia. We'll get to Georgia, but he's not coming out of the rotation. He should have solidified a weekend spot. I know that they've loved kind of having him in that fourth starter position, but I just don't think you can. They've struggled on Sundays to start with, and the fact that he gave up one, again, like I think the ceiling for both teams is absurdly high. I think you just saw two teams that were really clicking pretty, they're both really good programs. So I think, frankly, if you're Ole Miss, you're kind of happy to be getting out of there with one win because of kind of just how the weekend went. So I understand them being here, but I can tell you right now, being 11th in the I find it very hard to see Ole Miss not hosting now. Again, as we talked about, they have a billion Q1s coming up. So they'll be one of those programs that has 30 Q1 games. So, I mean, it's just they have a silly schedule. Their pitching has been phenomenal this year. They're still 7-3 in their last 10, plus 33 in run differential. So everything is pointing to them having – I mean, I don't want to say a lock for a 1 seed because I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I would say trending towards being a 1 seed.
Yeah, it feels like if they just take care of business in their next 3 series, even 4 wins would be enough for them to be a seed.
And they're 500 in SEC play. Like that. Yeah. Like it's so wild because Arkansas is also 11-10. Like it's just the weirdest SEC this year, to where I still feel like a team that's 9-12 and Vandy has a shot, and I feel like a team that's 11-10 in Arkansas is just like, kind of rudderless at the moment. So it's kind of a unique season, the SEC, and I think that's, again, going back to one of our first discussions of, what's that magic number in the SEC. I really do feel like you're going to have to get to 14 this year because you have such a mush at that, like, I will say 8 and beyond, that if you're just in that mush and you're at 13, I don't see that being enough.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss emerges and looks pretty good about it, and that's kind of.
I like them a lot. Again, you can't beat them on Fridays, even when Elliott looks like that. So the fact that, again, they're a team that if I'm no longer thinking about a 2 or 3. If I'm opposite of them, I don't like that, because I'm looking at game one of a potential super and being like, shit. So
not the most fun.
That's how it. Yeah, exactly. So I really like this Ole Miss team.
Number 15, Boston College, up 7. And a lot of this was the teams ahead of them lost, but also I love Boston College. I've been very high on them. Bird Ball's back, man. And 16 wins in conference is ridiculous. Now they have 6 games left. They're 16-8 in conference. They have 3 against Clemson, and then they end with Georgia Tech. We talked already about them playing NJIT and UMass. Like, Lowell, listen, this is a chance to go to 40 wins. Now, if they take care of business and win the series against Clemson at Clemson, put them in, pencil them in. They're a host team to me. I mean, even if they got swept by Georgia Tech to end the season, I still think that this Boston College team has done enough. With 16 conference wins right now, they're in the tournament no matter what. But if they go out and they win 2 of 3 this weekend and get to 18 conference wins, it'd be really hard for me to say that that is not a host team with how well Boston College has played. I love their style of baseball. AJ Calaruso on Friday gives them a true Friday night ace and gives them a really tough guy to go out there and face anybody in the country. And then the offense is all sorts of different things. They got power. They've got speed. You know, we saw them steal 12 bags against Duke, and a little bit of that was Duke's defense, but 12 bags against Duke, like 11 of those in the first 2 innings. Like, they do a lot of different things. They do a lot of things right. They're tough on the road, which I've already mentioned. Their road record. I really love this Boston College team. If somehow they don't host and they drop to a 2, that's a really tough 2 seed with how well they play on the road and how tough this team is. So I love Boston College. I think that they deserve every bit to be here. If they take care of business, like I said, this weekend and take 2 of 3 against Clemson, which I have them doing, all of a sudden this is a host team and you just leave them there as a host. They're going to be a top 16 team moving forward. Number 14, Southern Miss, up 4. Again, they took care of business in another weekend. Like, it wasn't necessarily pretty, but they won, and that's what we've been asking them to do, is take care of business on weekends in Sun Belt play.
Yeah, 2 good wins against South Alabama, who is better than I think they get credit for. Really good win 2 weeks ago against Texas State, getting a sweep. They've got ULM, they've got James Madison, and Georgia Southern. Like, I'd love to see them take 7 and 9. I think that'd be huge for them. They're in second. Yeah. They're in second in the Sun Belt right now. I believe they're 4 or 5 games behind Coastal. They're at 13 and 7. So they have done, or 13 and 8. They've done more than enough in the non-con. I'll be curious to see if they get a host. Like, I'll be curious to see if the Sun Belt gets 2 hosts this year. I think there's certainly an argument for it, but no, both of you are no.
No, I don't believe they should have 2 hosts, but I've been saying that for the last 4 weeks, so I'm not going to change my turn now, because I just
I'm also a big. I'm too much of a sucker for the Sun Belt. So what am I? Who am I?
I love the Sun Belt. I do.
Yeah.
I love the Fun Belt, man. But yeah, two hosts out of there, especially when there's only going to be 2 teams that make the tournament.
Agreed. Now, however, if they go out and they win,
RPI says they should. RPI says they should.
They win the Sun Belt tournament. Who says no? That's all I'm going to say. The offense has been really good. Like, I know Joey Urban has cooled off, but Kyle Morrison is like as consistent as they come. Like, that kid is unreal. Davis Gillespie is starting to hit the cover off the baseball. They've gotten really good production now out of Matthew Russo, which you have to be really excited about. I mean, the kid's hitting just under 500 when he leads off in innings, which is just absurd. So he's been really good. Seth Smith has been really good for them. I think you've got to be excited about this being like a true complete team. And again, if this is a team that's a 2 seed, really tough 2 seed. And I know that the Pitt is kind of like the ultimate spot. Like, it's a big advantage for them to be at home compared to going on the road. And quite frankly, they have looked like different teams at times when they're away from the Pitt. So I do worry about that piece of them as a 2 compared to if they find a way to host. But this is still a team that I really, really like across the board.
Yeah, I just have concerns about them as an overall. Like, sometimes it's the offense, sometimes it's the pitching, sometimes it's the bullpen. But they keep winning games, just like Coastal, where I give them a hard time. But Coastal keeps winning games, and they've won more games, and now they got Cam Fluke back, so they look like a real problem. Number 13, Nebraska, up 1. Jason, big weekend for them. I know that people were giving them a hard time for losing the 1 at Illinois. I already spoke my piece that Illinois is a good baseball team. Tell us a little bit more about this Nebraska team, and that a host Nebraska team to me, honestly.
Yeah, I hate putting things in, ink, so to speak, but I do think you can pretty much ink them into being in that top 20. So now it's just kind of like, at what point do they become like a for sure top host seed? I don't think they're there yet, but I think if the season were to end today, absolutely they would be in. It was great to see Jassa get to the 6th. It feels like he's kind of in a little bit of a struggle trying to get like deeper into the games. The walks were still pretty high, which you don't really like to see. But again, him going further makes them just a much better team. Carey looked somewhat human, and they still win the series. So I think you really like the fact that your best player, didn't have his best weekend. You go up against a good team on the road, and you're able to, get 2 to 3. Sanderson had a couple extra base hits above a 1.0 OPS, and ultimately, it was just a good pitching weekend. Again, versus, as we've said, a good Illinois team. They held them to a 686 allowed OPS, even with Illinois putting up 10 in game 1. It's pretty sleepy game 3 in that 3-0, and honestly, it was a close game in the 6th and 7th one of those coin flip games that honestly you were starting to think like, okay, can Illinois take this series? But you never shake your head at road wins, especially against a good Illinois team. So end of the day, it's a mission accomplished for the weekend, even though they didn't get the sweep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good baseball team. 19-1 at home. Like, that's a very good baseball team. They're the second best home team in the country behind USC, who's 25-1 at home. Like, honestly, they're two.
That's pretty good.
That'll do it. Right there, hosting. I mean, taking care of business at home is a big thing, and Nebraska's been able to do that all season. So, big on Nebraska. I love where they're heading. Number 12, Jason, Mississippi State up 4. They seem to be playing a little bit better baseball. It wasn't pretty, but it's still LSU, and taking care of business matters.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Mississippi State a lot at the beginning, so I don't want to jump into too much here. But really, I think this is just a representation of who they are. We talked about it last week when I think they were 16th. And he was like, they're not the 16th best. I don't even think they're the 12th. I think this team is a top 8 seed. I think they have just an incredible amount of talent. McPherson sounds like he's on his way back. O'Connor talked about him starting to throw from the mound. He's starting to get – if they get him back, if Ace Reese puts the swings like he was able to, they had a lot of timely hits this weekend, which really provided value. I mean, sometimes during that game, the weekend, honestly, it was a little bit of sloppy at times. Especially from like a fielding perspective, like you were like, okay, like who wants to win this? So sometimes it was, I felt like it was an LSU team that was just trying to fight, scrap, and claw for any way to win any of those games. And I think you have to look at it and say it's a success for Mississippi State because they were able to hold them at bay all 3 games and have a series sweep. So everyone was trying to jump off the bandwagon after they got swept 2 weekends in a row. Tennessee at Georgia, versus Georgia. I think both were at home. There's 2 sweeps in a row, and I think this is just a representation of who they are. There are a lot of times when you lose those coin flips and you just try to like make these declarative statements of good or bad. And I think they've always been good, and I still think they're better than where they're at. So I really like this Mississippi State team. I think they're set up pretty well towards the end of the year to make, some real noise, especially if they get McPherson back. So that's where I got them.
Yeah, I think it's a very good baseball team. I mean, they're in a really good spot right now, and they're heading the right direction. And if they get McPherson back, all of a sudden, it's like we talked about TCU with Tommy Lepore needing him back.
Yeah,
Mississippi State really did need that arm back. But the good thing is all those bullpen arms got a lot of experience. So a lot of these young guys for Mississippi State got a ton of big experience. And now all of a sudden, you've got a mess of guys that can go out there and throw for you. Got to be pretty excited if you're Brian O'Connor and you get McPherson back and you're playing this well. Gotta love the direction that
who looked ridiculous. Jack Bauer looked phenomenal this weekend.
He's getting so much better every week.
Yeah,
man.
like especially early on. He really got roughed up early on. Like dudes were catching a lot of barrels against him. I think more so than anything. I think that was the big red flag. It's like guys are hitting him really hard. He looked ridiculous this weekend.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing you see from him now is the changes to pitch to both sides of the plate. Like he was really like, oh, I throw 101, I'm going to beat
lefty
you.
Specialist. Yeah.
Yep. And now all of a sudden he can throw to both sides of the plate, and he's really hard on the
slider,
man. That man, it's brutal. And then he throws that 2-seamer that's 100 miles an hour cutting in on your hands if you're left. Like it's brutal. I no thanks. I think he's figured himself out quite a bit. I think that the staff has done a good job in getting him more ready for this freshman year throughout the season. Those arms that they have in the bullpen have just gotten better. I'm really scared of that Mississippi State team, and I think that they're going to end up being a national seed.
Oh, and I mean, that environment was, everyone always talks about the Mississippi State, but the walk-off bomb, like it was just a great scene for baseball to see that many people there just kind of going nuts. And it wasn't just like a singular instance. There were like 4 to 5 moments in that weekend where the crowd was just good. So if they do get that top 8, I hate to say ink anything, but it would be very difficult to beat them in a regional given the depth of their pitching, and it would be very difficult to beat them in a super if their starting pitchers are if Valencius. I mean, that was the one thing that was a little bit of a, you start to worry a little bit, and I don't want to get too. He didn't look great, and it's interesting. Like the Mississippi State announcer called him Valencius, and I'm like, he did the in dugout interview in the Arkansas series. He's like, yeah, my family says Valencius. So I don't know what the hell to call this guy, but I'm just going to keep saying Valencius.
That's what Oak called him in Arlington too, is Valencius.
Valencius. Like some people call him Valencius. Like,
yeah, and that's what all of their play, and because it was the Mississippi State guys who were doing it, and I'm like Valencius, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So I have no idea what to call the guy. I really don't. But the fact that he struggled a little bit for me was kind of an oddity, because I still think he's one of the top 10 left-handed arms in baseball. And so if you get McPherson back to where he was, striking out 10, walking nobody versus Arkansas in Fayetteville, again, like the sky is the ceiling for this team.
Yeah, I love it. Very good Mississippi State. That's what we'll say on that one. Number 11, Kansas, also very good. Trending in tremendous direction, 17-4 in conference. We've talked a lot about them. I just want to touch on a couple offensive stats before I kick it over to the top 10 teams. 196 runs in 21 games, so they're averaging more than 9.5 runs a game. They have 89 extra base hits, 45 home runs, so they have more than 2 home runs a game. This team is near a 1 dot OPS. It's really close. You're talking about 0.13 away from a 1 dot for the team. 7 guys hitting over 300. And the rest of everybody that qualifies for them, their lowest batting average in conference is 295. So this team can hit. This team plays baseball. Their fielding percentage is high at 973. Like, they do all the little things right. The ERA is a little bit higher than you'd like, but guys are getting better. Mason Cook's getting better. Dominic Vagley's getting better. Like, these guys are just hitting their stride at the right time. Watch out. I really love Kansas. I think that if they take care of business this weekend, they're a top 10 team. I mean, that's how good this team has been lately. If they win 2 or 3, really hard not to say that they're a top 10 team heading in. Number 10, Oregon. I saw them up close and personal this weekend. It was not pretty, but they win baseball games. And Mark Wasikowski has got something going on there, man. This team really is playing good baseball. It's not perfect, and they're missing some stuff right now. They're misfiring a little bit on offense. Their pitching has been good, but it hasn't been elite like it started off the season. But I will say, in Saturday's game that I was at, they gave up 4, and they were ugly. There was some errors early in that first inning. They gave up all 4 runs. And then 9 consecutive shutout innings of really good pitched baseball and great defense. Maddox Maloney's getting healthy. He looks like the all-star shortstop in that kind of MLB draft first rounder that we talked about, having a shortstop there for them. Ryan Cooney has been an elite second baseman, maybe one of the best in the country at second base there. I really like where they're at. Drew Smith is a Golden Spikes finalist at third base. They have guys in lineup. They have 2 freshmen in Jaska and Angel Laya, where all of a sudden you're saying, hey, they got 2 of the best freshmen in the country, let alone the Big Ten. Watch out. Oregon trending in the right direction. Number 10 here. They have the season in front of them, Jason. We talked about it earlier. Their season's in front of them. The USC series, the UCLA, if they take care of business in those 2, all of a sudden they're top 16, their host team. Maybe even playing their way into that talks of national seed if they can really take care. If they can beat UCLA at UCLA and take care of business against USC. But, even if they took 3 of those games, I think I like them to be a host.
Oh, 100%. I mean, again, like right now, you're talking about a team that's 26th in the RPI. As you said it, they've got the hardest Big Ten schedule remaining. And so if they're able to go in and make some noise in that, I just don't see any way that they're not, because then they're right on the edge of winning the conference. And clearly they're not going to win it because UCLA is going to win it, but they're going to be in that too. And so how do you kind of that's going to be the question, is like, okay, you've got we had this discussion last week. How many Big Ten hosts are there? And I think if you have multiple, and Oregon finishes that strong, I don't see how you keep Oregon not hosting. Like, I don't see how you have a Southern Cal above them if Oregon goes in there and beats them, and then basically Southern Cal's 3 big Big Ten series, they lose all 3. Like I think that'd be pretty damning. I mean, even with an RPI, which would be probably the 15 still. So again, I'm just gonna keep resonating myself of the committee's a little bit screwed, and so I think this is one of those like scenarios where they have to go like, I mean, they've basically just clung to the RPI like it is their lifeline, and they don't want to do anything other than like regurgitate a number of what's besides. So I think they'll have to really try to deviate from that, because you sometimes just have to like do the like keep it simple, stupid. And so like even if the RPI is telling you like top 16, if a team has no like 1 or 2 Q1 wins and 10 Q1 losses, and another team right beside him who just beat them has a lot more, and they just beat them, like you kind of just have to reward that, even if your magic number doesn't say so.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really tough for them. Right now, we have 3 Big Ten teams hosting, and I had 3 in my most recent predictions also. And I think it's Nebraska, Oregon, and UCLA. I don't think USC is the host team, but I think that those 3 should be. Number 9 will Carolina up to keep taking care of business. Like they're just winning baseball games, and now they get Cam Flukie back. They did lose his start, but they do get him back through 2 innings. Like, man, if he's going to be healthy down the stretch for them, they don't really need to win the Sun Belt tournament. Like, as long as they keep winning baseball games down the stretch, they're fine.
Yeah, agreed. And really fun midweek tomorrow in Chapel Hill for them.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really fun game. Always a really fun series or not series, but always really fun when Coastal gets to play like the Clemsons of the world on the midweeks and the Wake Forest and the UNCs. Always love those games. This is a really actually impressive weekend to me, because Texas State had every opportunity in the world to take that Saturday game. And Ross Norman looked a lot better this weekend, quite frankly, than he's looked kind of all season. Like, battled through a lot of traffic that he hasn't gotten out of in previous starts. So I think you look at that as a huge building block. You look at Cam Flukie, the stuff was sharp. I know they lost the game. Who cares? He looks sharp. Like the stuff looks good. This team is really good, and they continue to win. And again, like we always talk about it all the time, like you can't punish teams for not losing, right? Like this team just wins. On the flip side, however, I do want to talk about how that's a huge, honestly, a really big Sunday win for Texas State that they weren't able to get against Southern Miss last week in extra innings. Southern Miss was able to beat them in like 15 innings in a marathon game, and they got it this weekend against Coastal. That's big for Texas State in terms of Sun Belt placing, in terms of them getting into the postseason tournament. Like, that's a really big win for them. This Coastal team's really good, man. That's really it, right? And you get Cam Flukie back, you bump Ross Norman to Sundays. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, this is a pretty good, right? Like Ross Norman on Saturday is like, It is what it is. Ross Norman on Sunday, like you might have some problems. So
yeah,
I think you gotta like where those guys are trending. Obviously, Flukie is gonna probably slow build because you don't want to put anything in concrete. They pretty much have the Sun Belt locked up with no series against Southern Miss. Like, going to be pretty tough for Southern Miss to catch them, pending like an absolute meltdown these next 3 series. So you like to pencil them in as the 1 seed going into the tournament, pending they handle some business over the next couple of weeks. Get Cam Flukie rolling. Probably gets like a full start maybe against Louisiana the last weekend of the year heading into the conference tournament. And then all of a sudden he's full strength with 15 innings under his belt heading into the postseason, and you get him in, mid-season form. So I think you got to like the position this Coastal team's in again.
Yeah. I think that they're a good baseball team. And I'm going to mention them with this next team, Oregon State. It's Coastal, Oregon State, and UCLA are still the 3 only teams in the country who have not lost a weekend series. That's a number you can hang your hat on if you're those 3 teams. You go, hey, we haven't lost a weekend series yet. So no matter what else you want to say about those 3 teams, they haven't lost a weekend series, and that's why they're in the top 10. That's when you point to the numbers. When you don't lose a weekend series, you're going to be a top 10 team. I mean, that's just where it is. Coastal winning.
Troy is like, what the hell happened to us last year, huh?
Yeah, right.
They lost non-conference. They did lose 2 non-conference weekend series, but these 3 teams haven't lost a single non-conference or any.
I know.
But it is funny because Troy did do that.
Justice for Troy. Troy deserved to be in last year.
Number 8, Oregon State down 1. This is not necessarily like the way that they lost to Oregon midweek, and so now they've split that, and they're not going to play the third one. The third one got canceled, so now they're just playing those 2. Oregon State took care of business against Hawaii. Hawaii, we know the pitching staff is elite. That pitching staff is so good. They kind of slowed down Oregon State, but Oregon State scored 12 on Friday. and then scored 8 on Saturday. They only scored 3 on Sunday. Really good start there for Hawaii. But listen, the big storyline is Dax Whitney. He leaves the game in the 7th inning. It's apparently shoulder tightness. Really no answers other than that right now. He left the game in the middle of an at-bat. Didn't look great, but there's no answers currently to this point. I could absolutely see them not having him pitch this week, even if he's ready to go. I could see them sitting him next week and then maybe giving him a warm-up start the 3rd weekend before regionals if he's healthy. No news. We'll keep you updated as soon as we hear anything, but I think that's the biggest storyline for Oregon State. With Dax Whitney, they could say that they're close to that national seed. Possibly, they don't play another top 100 team for the rest of the season, which if they take care of business, win every game, be hard to keep them out of that top 8 seed. Without Dax Whitney, I don't believe you would put them as a national seed. That's just the line there. He makes them a national seed team if he's able to go.
So you're being a very unbiased Oregon State fan, and I appreciate that as someone who has a lot of bias for certain teams. I think regardless, he needs to be, because again, like your top 16 team. But I agree with you. I don't think he should pitch again for a while, and it's not just because you want him or blah blah whatever. It's the simple fact that you have 14 games remaining and 12 of them are Q4 games.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the quality of team that you are, which you are, you don't need Dax. Like, you want Dax and he'll help you win, but you shouldn't need him.
Yeah.
And
they
so
can go Trey Morris or they go Wyatt Queen. Those 2 arms are good enough to go get
you have a deep pitching staff. Like, you want this guy to be really good in game 2 of your regional, because they'll probably hold him. I know I didn't work last year very well, but hopefully lightning doesn't strike twice. And so you want him versus that 2 or the 3 in game 2. So that's kind of what you're pointing at right now, because you don't have a conference tournament. You basically have easy street for the remainder of the season. Like, clearly you can still lose. Like, anyone can lose games, but in theory, like, if you're not going 12-2 or whatever, then you're not really looking at it. If you lose 3 games with this remaining schedule, it's going to be hard to host, because your RPI is going to dip regardless, just because of the games remaining. So if you lose 3 games, you'll probably be in the 20s in the RPI. So you want to make sure that you're ready to go for that game 2 of your regional, because that's basically where Oregon State's at right now, because with the remainder of their schedule. So you don't want to look ahead too much, but as a coach, you kind of have to. You have to say, like, hey, we have a 1-1 guy. Like, I know Harrison's there. Like, I get it. But we have a 1-1 guy in 27. And we want to make sure he's healthy. Because at the end of the day, like, you want a guy healthy. You want to be a guy that can, be your bell cow for 2 straight years, 3 straight years, basically, for the program. So I'm excited for Oregon State. I think you just sit them and you just say, you know what, get healthy, because the last thing you want to do is run them out there against a team again like a Long Beach. Nothing against like Long Beach State, but you don't want to run them out against Long Beach State and he actually get hurt and it really screw your season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you got the series that you have left are CSUN, Long Beach State, and Air Force. Like, nobody's blowing the doors off you. They're, again, outside the top 100, all Q4. They just need to be cautious here. And you still got guys like Ethan Kleinschmidt who've come a long way this season and been really, really excellent. Segura's been maybe
USA
one of the
guy
starters on Sunday. Yeah, like they're still stacked with guys. Wyatt Queen doesn't have to start because they just don't have a need for him. They've been pulling him out of. They can start him. They have all the arms, like you said. The bullpen's super deep. They can go to a ton of guys. Like, yeah, I think you just hold them out and be smart about it. So,
I don't mean to diverge too much. Any update on the freshman who got in the serious accident before the Oregon game?
There is no official updates.
Okay.
He is still recovering.
You don't need to divulge then. If there's nothing official, okay, you don't need to divulge.
Still in the hospital. Still in the hospital. So still recovering. Yeah. Number 7, Auburn up 1. Jason, really good weekend for them. Like, it wasn't pretty again, but this is a team that can win some games. Like, I don't know how you take 2 of 3 at their place. I don't know how you take 2 of 3 Plainsmen.
I said it last week. If you're not winning a game 3-2, you're not winning a game against Auburn. They lost 1-2.
1-2.
So part of me is like, hey, I feel more justified in the fact that I don't really know what Oklahoma is.
Yeah.
But the other part of me is like, holy shit, this pitching staff is good. And again, if they can just get their offense to 80% of its ceiling, look out for this team.
They get healthy by tournament time. My God, if they're 100%, Jason. Oh,
yeah. I really like this Auburn team. Incredibly deep pitching staff, a ton of talent hitting. They just haven't really put it together. I mean, we barely even mentioned Lucas Steele. I loved that transfer 2 years ago from Stanford. Again, Frelick, like we've just kind of been hoping for. Again, like he's good. Like he's he's beautiful left-handed, but you just want him to be kind of like that freak in your lineup that you can kind of point at and say like, hey, go be a Bailey for me and get 3 to 5. And that just hasn't been him. He's been good, but he just hasn't been that guy you can like rely on. So, I mean, I really like this team. The only thing that gives me trepidation is the fact, they can only score 1 run in a game. Like the Saturday game versus, Arkansas where it was 3-2 or, ultimately there's just a lot there. Every other game, it feels like they're only scoring like 2 or 3 runs. But the nice thing is their pitching staff allows for it. So they're a team that can very easily come out of the losers bracket. So that's why I feel like their ceiling or their floor is really high, because even if they somehow lose that game 2 or whatever, they've got absurd depth pitching wise that they could come back from a losers bracket in a regional. So wagon. That's all I got.
When you said that quote about Ole Miss, like you don't want to see them on the opposite side of the bracket of you, that's my feelings about Auburn. Like if you're a team and you see that they're the opposite of you for a super, you're like, well, that sucks. That's unfortunate.
If you're any SEC team, you're like, for the love of God, like continue your tradition of trying not to match SEC teams and supers. And you start to wonder, like, okay, where would they be at? And you're trying to think of, okay, will that be like that 7 through like it's like, okay, with like Nebraska, like, oh shit, like you're like
Kansas,
okay, like maybe we want to lose some games. Like I know that sounds silly, but I wouldn't want to be matched up against them. That's for sure.
Especially after they lost a super last year with Coastal coming to town. I don't feel like that's a back-to-back kind of thing. This team feels like it's a destined to Omaha kind of team. That's how I feel on this Auburn team.
Yeah, with their pitching depth, I think the only thing that's going to keep them is just inconsistency on offense.
Yep.
But again, like you just need to get 5. Really, that's their bar.
5
if you get 5, if you get 5, you're winning 80% of your games.
Feels like this next team too, number 6 Texas, down 1. Jason, again, I think that these are just because the teams ahead of them were really, really good this weekend. But Texas down 1, another elite pitching staff.
Yeah, they did struggle a little bit. I think this is another weekend where if you're Vanderbilt, you're like, shit, like we had an opportunity.
We had a chance.
And I think Vanderbilt could have said that, 3 or 4 times this weekend. It's good to see, A-Rod get some good, strong swings. Robbins is still Robbins. I think you have to come down to what Ruger are we going to get? And we talked about this, maybe it's 2 weeks ago. It was like he's looked so good in the non-con, and it kind of feels like both years it's just kind of been like, all right, where are we going to go from here with that? And I mean, Volantis is a freak. I think we can pretty much say like they're going to be an Ole Miss moving forward where it's going to be very, very difficult to beat them on Fridays. And so I love this Texas team. I think it comes down to their 7 through 9 hitters, which it feels like they're still trying to figure out. Is it going to be Livingston at first? Is it Duplantier going to be? Are they going to try to throw Larson in the DH? It feels like I do worry about the bottom of their lineup, and I don't mean to put this bad juju on them, but they kind of feel like North Carolina of a few years ago. Where who was the center fielder that they had that went like top 15 in the draft? They had when they went to Omaha, I want to say in 24, where their top
you're talking about Honeycutt?
Talking about
yes,
Honeycutt?
Like when when Honeycutt went nuts and like in the postseason, they kind of remind me a little bit of that North Carolina team where it's like
Where
they
Aiden
have
Robbins
the top,
could do that.
Yeah, it's like where the top of their lineup is like a holy shit lineup, and then at the bottom you're like, just freaking get me to the top. Like that's
Can
kind
somebody
of
roll over something
yeah,
for us?
yeah, because you know Becerra has looked good, and like they have all of these guys who like in snapshots who've looked good, but it just feels like they're looking for that consistency. And I think at the end of the day, you say you won a weekend series on the road in the SEC against a team that's fighting for their life, because Vanderbilt knows where they're at in the RPI. They know what they need to get to. They know that number. So they're doing everything and anything. And they can mash. Like that Vanderbilt team can hit with the best of them. So long story short, again, success for Texas. I think 6 is too low for them personally. But I can also 100% justify it. So that'd be my best way to put it.
Yeah, honestly, Jason, these top 6 teams could have been in any order this week. Like I could have argued that you could put any of them in any of this order because of how they are. And number 5, Georgia Tech, probably gave us the most flack from people because they went out and they won the midweek. And I still believe they're fine at
box
5.
score surfers. That's what I'll say. Box
Georgia
score
Tech.
surfers.
Yeah, I said I have major concerns about their pitching staff. I'll let Will talk about them. They're up 1. Georgia Tech's still good, but people forget 2 weeks ago they just got beat up by UNC. So like people thinking that they should have jumped them this weekend was insane to me, just because UNC lost a game to Duke. But Will, I'll let you talk about this Georgia Tech team. Very good lineup, very good things. I still have concerns about their pitching staff.
Yeah, if there are people still tuned in, it's for this. Like we made 0 friends today with
0.
our ranking.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter.
True. We made 0 Twitter friends today. To Jason's point, yeah, a little bit of box score watching going on there. As our resident voter that ranked Georgia Tech the highest, and I'm a huge Georgia person, believe me. Like I really struggle even jumping Tech over Georgia, and I know people aren't going to like to hear that. And you are talking to number 1 believer that midweeks matter. Like I'm pretty sure I've said it on like 80% of the episodes.
Yeah.
Like I always
I'm on
talk
the opposite
about,
side.
Jason and I are the complete opposite side. We usually sit on the other side of the fence.
A lot of people fall into the world of like midweeks matter when my team wins. That's where most people fall. But let's be honest, that's where 90% of people fall. I'm a big believer that midweeks do matter. I mean, it is 2 top 10 teams on a neutral site, like electric environment, and Georgia Tech beat the crap out of them. Like that's just the reality of what happened. That doesn't mean that you're better than Georgia. That doesn't mean that you get to jump them in the rankings. Like, and
no way, man. That's bullshit.
And here's the thing.
Open your eyes.
I get to talk about both these teams this week, so I'm lumping them together. We're banging.
That's
out
why I
5
gave them both
3.
to you, Will.
Yeah. We're bringing out 5 and 3. Georgia's at number 3. Spoiler alert. But here's the thing: is we're gonna value sweep over Wake Forest unranked. And again, you guys talked about Wake Forest early on. Like the trending in the right direction has a great argument to be in, quite frankly. I know your formula loves them, Jason. And that was a team that I heavily considered this week. But I think, of teams that were bubble of being in the top 25 for me, they were like 3rd behind, Tennessee and Cincinnati were like kind of the 2 that I gave the nod to, and not Wake. But Wake has been right there for me for 3 weeks now. I've been kind of just eyeing them up, like looking for an opportunity. If someone loses, maybe they get in this week. That is not the same as winning a series in Oxford. And to the point of having Texas A&M above them, it's not the same as winning a series in Gainesville.
They're not equal.
It's not A to A, right? It's not 3 wins versus 2 wins. Like you have to look at the opponent. You have to look at being on the road. You have to look at the schedule as a whole. I understand that Georgia Tech leads the country in Q1 wins. Who also leads the country in Q1 wins? Florida and Alabama. It's really tough, right? It really is. You guys said it really perfectly. I think you could place any of the top 6 teams in any order you wanted, and I think there's a legit argument for it. Again, a sweep over Wake Forest is not a series win in Gainesville. It is not a series win in Oxford.
Yeah.
Can we just remove all transitive property thoughts for the remainder of history? That's what I would love.
Yeah, that's honestly that is the number 1 property used in any sports.
Yeah, I mean, sports. even when it happens, like we have an analytics ranking, and it's not even really a ranking. It's more just a sort. like, hey, based upon the computer, the formula sorts these teams. And so
really
we call
like
it a ranking, whatever. Everybody calls it. Who gives a shit? And everybody's like, how the hell do you have, this team? But didn't you know they played each other? Like Mississippi State, but like they beat them 3 times. And like, I get it. Like trust me. And I know everyone is esteemed gentlemen and everyone talks with wonderful charisma. Apologies for that. But like at the end of the day, you can't make a determination based upon like even a 3-game series.
You have to say Oklahoma's a top 5 team because of who they beat. That'd be no
exactly.
No chance.
Once you get in this big loop of like, well, my team beat that team, and A beat B, and B beat C, therefore A could beat C, and A beat C, therefore D is really good. Like you just can't get into that. And I think this is the hardest season for that because everybody's losing to everybody, and everybody has holes except for UCLA, who just appears to be, unless Sac State's rolling into town. So yeah, so
if the Sac State hashtag wagon,
wagon, the fighting Vahiva Aloys. So I
need a Sac State hat.
Yeah, they're awesome guys. So I don't know why I just took this over. Apologies, but I feel you 100% on this because everybody.
It is a brutal decision. It's a brutal decision. Our rankings are a composite score of between 4 and 8 voters every week. If you want the inside look, if you want me to peel back the curtain, Texas A&M and Georgia Tech tied in the composite score this week. Texas A&M was above Georgia Tech last week, and they had a better series win. They went to Gainesville. They took 2 of 3. Georgia Tech beat Wake 3 times, and quite frankly, and when you look at, 3 wins is 3 wins. I'm not going to take that away from Georgia Tech. They very easily could have lost that series, very easily.
Wake looked like the better team for 60% of that series.
Yeah,
well, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not. There was a really funny comment that Jared sent me prior to, and it was, I want to hear the mental gymnastics. It wasn't mental gymnastics. It really wasn't. It's, there's a legit argument for even Georgia Tech at, like, I think you could argue that they could be at 2, despite the head-to-head against UNC. And UNC kind of beat up on them. Like, they did. UNC looked like the much better team. You still have an argument to put Georgia Tech at 2. And I'd be like, I wouldn't fault you if you thought that they were the second-best team in the country. By no means. Same thing with A&M. Same thing with Texas. Same thing with Georgia. Hell, you could argue Mississippi State's in the top 5 right now.
Hell yeah, you could.
With you. And I would agree with you because I love Mississippi State. So it's not just like it's not an A to B thing. It's not, well, we won 3 games and they won 2, and we beat them in a midweek at Truist Park that was untelevised. So why don't we get to be the number 3 team and Georgia does? It's like, how do you can't penalize the leading SEC team for winning a series on the road at Oxford to an Ole Miss team that's been really, really good this year.
Yeah. Here's the thing. People are like, oh, you were at the games, you weren't watching. I'm like, go back and watch the film. If you watch any of the Oregon Duck game, you see I have my iPad out sitting on my lap and my phone. So I'm watching 5 games while watching the Duck game. So
and Georgia Tech did not look good this weekend. They won 2 games. If you want to play that game of like you didn't watch the games, like Georgia Tech didn't look good. They got really hot. They got hot in innings and they put up tremendous crooked numbers, which
they were better in 7 innings over the weekend. Yeah, they were better in 7 innings over the weekend. That's what it was. And congrats, they won.
And it won them 3 games.
They were absolutely.
And I think if you're Wake Forest, you're looking back on it and you're like, God damn.
I know they were 7 innings away from winning that series. Yeah. So number 4, Texas A&M up 1. Jason, again, a big win for them. Going to Gainesville, winning that one. We talked about a lot, Jordan Wilson, but man, I love this A&M team, and that's a national seed.
So I'm gonna segue your wonderful conversation about lovely Twitter conversations. Our formula has loved Texas A&M basically since the word go. They've been in the top 12 for us quite literally the entire season. And for about the first 4 or 5 instances, people are like, they're stupid. Like, they're not very good. Texas A&M not very good. Like, they're just dumb. This week, we have them at 7. And everyone we're getting shit on because they are too low. So we are in the cyclical world of Twitter where it's fun because once you get to a big enough size, you sometimes get like the 23 followers who just reach out and like, this is the dumbest thing I've seen since, sliced bread. I don't know, whatever. and those are lovely conversations, and I really enjoy having those. But I love this Texas A&M team. I've always really enjoyed, and not only that, they pitched. They pitched this weekend. Like we've been saying this basically since the word go. Like if Sadeo and Sims and Freshman, if they can get those like 4 to 5 arms to be not even like elite, because they don't need to be elite, because the hitting is freakish. Now that Keel is doing what he's doing, and you've got, Wilson, who's just come out of the woodworks, who's looked like, he is, gosh, why am I forgetting their center fielder's name who left last year? That how in the world am I forgetting? He's hit 60 bombs. He got drafted like 15th overall. God, I'm an idiot for forgetting his name. He dominated at Texas A&M. I'm so bad with names. Apologies. You guys need to help me. The fact that y'all can't either, I now feel a little bit better.
Idea.
I'm zoning
Jace
Laviolette.
Thank you. God.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Jordan Wilson looks like Jace Laviolette, like reincarnated out there in the outfield. So I mean, it's absurd what's happening right there in that team. I mean, I think you said it 3-4 weeks ago. Will, you said Grohovac may be their 4th best hitter. Yeah. Like what the hell with this team? So I love this team. I said this preseason because I think you'll have them like 22nd or something, or maybe like just outside of the top 25. And I remember being like, I saw them live versus TCU, and that was when I still am pretty high on TCU, but that's when I was like, Will and I were leading the conductor train of like, look out for them horny toads. And I saw them. I was like, holy shit. Like this A&M team just looks like on another level. And they just keep proving me right. So I'm loving that. And now I'm wrong because I don't have them ranked higher. So, but you guys are right because you have them ranked properly. So congratulations.
Listen, I said it in the SEC preview show. I said, this is the team to watch out for. This is a team that if they have the right amount of bullpen arms and they have the offense, and once they're healthy, and boy, have they gotten healthy, Jason, this is a very, very good baseball team.
They don't have any holes offensively. They have 0 holes offensively. All they have to do is pitch. I mean, and they're almost like the inverse of Auburn. Like Auburn, it's like, just get me 5. For their pitching staff, it's like, just keep me to 6. Like
hold me under 6 and we're good. Yeah.
If you give me a 6 ERA as a pitching staff, we're going to win 80% of our games.
Yeah, better than the national average. Above average right there.
Number 3, Georgia.
Nuts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Texas A&M, very good. Georgia, Will, I don't know what else you want to talk about this team.
Nothing.
Listen, they deserve to be number 3. The people that are saying that they should be dropped down and out of, no, you're an idiot. Sorry. SEC matters. They're playing good baseball. They're one of the best teams in the country. I rank them at 2. I rank them ahead of UNC. So you can fight me if you want to in the parking lot. But listen, this is a very good Georgia team, and people that want to put them lower than that are blowing my mind. Like, I don't understand why you're saying they should not be a top 5 team. I don't get it. And Caden Naoki just gives me more fuel for the fire. The way that he pitched on Sunday, 6 innings and 1 run. Like, we were waiting to see who was going to be their Sunday guy. They found him, and they're not going to go away from him. And if they do, I'll be shocked.
I don't know. I'm going to fight Jason on that. Jason said that earlier. Like, Aoki's going to slot into the Sunday role. He has been, and I said this last week, that was all I talked about Georgia last week was Caden Aoki. It had nothing to do with their team. So I'm just going to say it again. Like, I know that they have done the whole use an opener on Sunday strategy this season. That's kind of been their whole thing. Caden Aoki has been far too good and far too valuable on Friday, Saturday as a bullpen, as like a long release guy.
He still threw 2 innings on Friday.
Yeah, and he didn't look good. Granted, like he didn't look great, and so you keep him fresh. He throws on Sunday, electric, right? So I guess if you are going to end up using him that way, sure. But I would be hard. Again, I believe he's going to start games in the postseason. I think in the regular season they're going to continue to use him the way that they've used him. And that's to come in after, one of their stud starters with the high-rise fastball, and he's just going to spin guys to death after him, and he's going to carve guys in the bullpen. Now, I think it's really tough because you're going to want to start him on Sundays, especially with the schedule they have coming up. But you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle if you're not going to use him Friday, Saturday. So I'll be curious. Yeah. Like, I wonder if it's going to be like, if we're in a really tight spot and we need length, we'll go to Aoki. But if we don't need to use him Friday, Saturday, and they just leave Sunday as a TBD, Yeah, they might just swing Sunday as a TBD, and if they don't have to use him, they'll start him Sunday. And if they do have to use him, then they'll go back to the original plan.
I mean, the other thing is too, they can use Matt Scott, and that's a very like they could go to him too. So that's the other thing is they have another high pressure arm, and he could also throw Sunday. He could start Sunday for you.
So been so much better in that.
Aoki's been better.
Aoki's been so good in that role,
and so good in that like pressure situation with guys on base. He comes in and shuts it down. I'm with you, Will. I like that, but I'm also fine if they decide that they want to use him on Sunday. I'd be fine if the plan is, hey, if we need him on Friday, Saturday, we use him to get those wins, but we have him on the Sunday start.
Yeah.
Or even I think Friday and then start him Sunday, like they did this week.
You do have some, like, also when we were talking about Volantis, when Texas A&M won 2-0 in that series, and he never even pitched. So it's kind of like one of the things that's like, do you want to not throw one of your top 3 arms in the first 2 games? So I do think there's value in that. But I also, you look at their Sundays, the first like 5 or 6 series in the they were getting like the shit beat out of them pitching wise on Sundays. But it almost felt like Tennessee of last year, where it was like, hey, I mean, they were doing better in the first 2 games, but Sundays was just kind of, we're going to outscore you. And I think, Will, you even mentioned that in the first
that last week,
Yeah, we get to Sunday and it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to score.
They put
10
up 26.
runs. Yeah. Hey, relax. But yeah, no, agreed with you on Georgia. They're really good, but they're 19th in the RPI. God damn it! There's no way.
They're 19th. They don't deserve to be in the top 5. You're crazy.
Yeah, well, I watch you don't check the computers. So. Yeah. Okay. Continue.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't have a plug into the RPI in my neck that makes me choose the other ways. So
son of a bitch.
Number 2, UNC. Listen, I get it. It's a very good baseball team. They're going to be a top 8 seed. They have 2 series left. They have Pitt, and then they have North Carolina State. I think that this team just takes care of business. I think North Carolina State is kind of on its way out. I don't think that they're going to play their way into this tournament at all, and I think UNC takes care of business in the last series. I think Pitt could take 2 of 3 from them because I think Pitt can out-hit them. Now, UNC has one of the better pitching staffs in the country, and maybe outside of Caden Aoki, Glauber has been right there as one of the best bullpen arms in the country. I like both those guys very, very much. And what they've been able to do with McDuffie also out of the bullpen, they're going to be really tough on Friday when they go DeCaro and then they go those 2 guys. I worry about the offense as we saw on Saturday where they got shut down by a Duke team that hasn't been particularly great pitching on Saturday, and UNC only scored 1. Granted, they came back on Sunday and scored 22. Duke was out of pitching completely, but I have some worries still about the offense, and I've said it before, the offense doesn't hit a lot of home runs, so there's not a lot of thump in that lineup there for UNC, but I still think that they're the top, 2 through 8, I'm fine with them being anywhere in that section there. And they did take the series from Georgia Tech. So for all you that are head-to-head bullshitters, that's why they're at 2 instead of 9. So whatever you guys want to argue with me. So UNC number 2. Number 1, Jason, UCLA. We've talked about them a lot, but they're just still the best team in the country. And I think that while you might say the gap closed a little bit this weekend, just in the eye test, it's still well above everybody else.
Yeah, part of me wonders, are they getting a little restless?
Bored?
I know that sounds weird. A part of me wonders if they're not just looking ahead. And I think Sac State's good. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think Sac State is they should have won 2 of 3 good. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Sac State. Like, this UCLA team is elite. And I think part of it is just kind of like, when do we get to June? That's what I feel like a little bit when it comes to this team.
2 weeks they host Oregon, and then 2 weeks after that they have the tournament and the Big Ten tournament, and then it's like, I think that's all that they're looking forward to, Jason. I'm with
you. You want to talk about, because this happened last year in the Big Ten tournament. Like, it felt like nobody gave a shit except Nebraska.
Yeah,
and Nebraska was like, all right, I guess we'll win this. Like, yeah, it's like,
guess we'll get in.
Can you imagine Purdue winning?
Purdue winning it?
Super easy happening. 5 Big Ten teams. Again,
you have to take 5.
You're screwed, committee. But I don't know why I keep getting UCLA, because they're so freaking good. I don't have a lot of like fun little tidbits to say about them. Just really, I think if anything, it did show that either they're complacent or they're human. Because I think this is one of those things where at the beginning of the year when they went to Arlington, it was like, holy shit, they run rule Texas A&M. They have, Coons against Tennessee, and they make, first couple innings were difficult, but then they make him look silly later on. And then they take Mississippi State and win it in extras, even though Mississippi State should have won that game, but it is what it is. But again, like everyone's, I think you mentioned this like 3 weeks ago, like if they played the SEC, like, you know, they just wouldn't be able to keep up. Like they're 3-0 against the SEC. So on weekend games, it's not midweeks where, you know, you're pitching your second through fifth best pitcher in the SEC is like, hey, let's see if we can throw, you know, Johnny 2 innings out there, see how he's okay. So sorry, Will, I know we're getting into the midweek discussions again. But again,
they do have
like
as
you
many
can't
Q4 losses as other losses. If you want to say one stat, they do have as many Q4 losses too as other losses.
Is it like? Is it 2-2?
2-2.
There's holes galore.
Insane.
Don't really know how they're
Yeah.
going to come back from that. So here's the question, since we don't really have much to say and we're almost 2.5 hours into this now. What is their floor? Is their floor third?
3?
3?
That's what I'm trying to. Swept by Oregon.
In terms of like
national,
if they get swept by Oregon,
seed?
they're 3. Like the lowest they could drop is 3 because they're not going to get double-digit losses.
Because I don't see. I think it's going to be hard for many SEC teams to get to 20 wins. I think that's going to be difficult. It's possible with Georgia, maybe some teams, but I think it's going to be hard. Do you? So maybe a team. Would a North
Carolina? Do you value an 18-win Georgia that wins the SEC above UCLA at that point?
Then like Georgia's RPI is not phenomenal. Like
exactly.
I struggle with
A&M could swing 18.
A&M's the team that could jump it if they go 7-2 down the stretch. Because then all of a sudden they're 21-8, and you go, that's an SEC team that.
Oh, if they're 21-8, yeah. I'm trying to think of their floor right now, and again, I think this is why they're a little bit complacent.
4.
You think 4? I don't think they could drop to 4. I think 3's it. I think one SEC and one ACC team could jump them, but nobody else could really jump them.
At that point,
I think Tech and UNC could jump them in theory. If UCLA were to lose a conference series and not win the Big Ten tournament or like get bounced early, like I think there's grounds that they could be 4. I think UNC, Georgia, A&M, and Georgia Tech could
kind of like LSU last year got didn't play great down the last 2 conference weekends and got bounced early.
Can I say something insane?
Yeah.
I maybe think that a 3 would potentially be better than a 1. And I know this sounds like you're going to be like, you're stupid. Because I think, and maybe you're right. Maybe I am. We're 2.5 hours in. Leave me alone. The 16 seed is probably going to be one of those ACC, SEC, like, what are we? And then the question is like, well, who is it going to be?
Like a Boston College?
Is it going to be a Boston College? Like, who's going to be that 14? And like, part of me is saying like, hey, because of the mush of it, like, would you be better equipped to play? Like, again, like, don't get me wrong,
16 could be an Ole Miss.
Yeah, exactly. Would you rather want to play like a 14 who has a phenomenal like resume, but maybe doesn't have like the goons of
Nebraska?
A team? Yeah. Like,
Nebraska, Boston
or would
College,
you want to have like a 16 of like potentially a Tennessee? Like, who would you rather play? I think I would know the answer to that. And so I don't know.
Tennessee,
part of
Florida,
me,
Ole Miss.
again,
I mean,
like,
even Oregon could be like a 15.
Yeah.
Just based on RPI. I mean, they're 23rd in RPI. I know we have them 10th, but like realistically, their seed is probably a 13 to 16. So it's like, do you face an Oregon at 16 or do you get Nebraska? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, or do you get a Kansas?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, their ceiling is 1, clearly. Their floor is 3. So I don't think they're ever thinking about those, but I do think part of me is like, hey, they're just like, get me to June.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we did it. 2.5 hours of.
Caleb wants to know if we talked about Cincy and West Virginia.
We did talk about the Bearcats.
We talked about them an hour ago. We talked about Bishop Ball an hour ago.
Maybe more than that.
Hit ball real far. Yeah,
we love
Mr.
Cincy.
Coates. Hit ball real far.
Mr. Coates.
They're one of those teams that's climbing fast, and we like where they're going, and they got a good weekend.
But West Virginia, unsure. But it looks like he's C4Y, so I'm guessing that's Cincinnati forever. I don't know. But yeah, sorry. Again, I'm 2.5 hours in. My brain is
I'm
is
glad
about
you
as
can read the
mush
comments
as
because they're
15 to
about
40.
this big. They're because it's from my phone screen, so I don't get to see those comments at all. But listen, thanks for joining us, folks. Top 25 show. We went longer than normal. We might be going this long the rest of the season just because of all we have to talk about. Love Monday nights with you guys. Come join us on Monday nights for Top 25 Talk. Wednesday night, we do the preview show. Saturday morning, the live show. Thanks so much for Jason, Will, and myself. We'll see you guys again next week.